Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 2772. Soon. The spirit vein and crystal vein were placed, and everything was restored to its original state. This energy, Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen looked at each other in disbelief. This is the crystal vein and the spirit vein. Qin Feiyang briefly explained the use of the crystal vein and the spirit vein. So that's how it is. Everyone suddenly understood. Uncle. Why did you only place one crystal vein and one spirit vein here? Lu Xiaofei could no longer hold back the doubts in his heart and asked. Qin Feiyang said, because this is specially for your grandmother. So it's like that. Lu Xiaofei suddenly understood. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Qiuyu and said, Mother, set up a barrier around it in the future to prevent the energy from leaking out. Okay. Lu Qiuyu nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen and said with a smile, Grandpa, let's go to the back mountain. Emperor Chen hurriedly said, Feiyang, this thing is so precious. Keep it for yourself. Don't worry about us. Obviously. Qin Feiyang was also going to place the crystal vein and the spirit vein in the back mountain. It's okay. I still have a lot. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. A lot? Emperor Chen was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. How many? Lu Xiaofei looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, so many that you can't count them. Lu Xiaofei was stunned and asked, is it that exaggerated? Otherwise? Qin Feiyang laughed out loud. This kid was quite amusing. Back mountain. Hundreds of breaths passed. A huge amount of energy emerged. Li Jian, Elder Qin, and Qin Sheng were alarmed at the first moment. This energy, what's going on? They were still a little drunk, but when they sensed this energy, the drunkenness suddenly disappeared. Then. The five of them rushed into the sky and looked around. Soon, they found a group of people standing in the sky not far away. Young Master. Your Highness. The five of them flew over. Li Jian looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously and asked, Young Master, what's going on? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, to create a good cultivation environment for you. A good cultivation environment? The five of them became even more suspicious. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Jian and asked with a smile, I believe you are familiar with soul stones, right? Soul stone. Li Jian was slightly startled. He said, yes, you broke through from the false god realm to the divine battle realm because you refined a soul stone. Soul stones are produced from a type of soul vein. And now, I've buried 10 soul veins here. Furthermore, these 10 soul lines are rank 8 god-level soul lines. Even in the ancient world, a rank 8 divine soul line is rare. With these spirit veins and crystal veins, your cultivation will progress by leaps and bounds. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. I see. Li Jian nodded in realization, his face full of excitement. Old Qin asked, what are crystal veins? The divine crystals produced by crystal veins have the effect of replenishing divine power, and it is also very helpful for cultivation. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Thank you, young master. Thank you, your highness. The few of them were very excited. They knew that Qin Feiyang did this not only for Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen, but also for them. You helped me protect Great Qin, of course I won't forget you. In the future, this place must be isolated with a barrier to prevent the energy of the spirit veins and crystal veins from leaking out. And you can also treat this back mountain as Great Qin's holy land. For example, some talented young people with good character can be brought to the back mountain to cultivate. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. The five of them nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen and said, in a few days, I will give you some more pill recipes. What pill recipes? Emperor Hong asked. Pill recipes that can make great qin rise quickly. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. In this life, what I am most proud of is having you as my grandson. Emperor Chen laughed. In this life, what this old man is most proud of is having you as my great-grandson. Emperor Hong also looked at Qin Feiyang with gratification. Lu Qiuyu and Emperor Chen were also full of smiles. Qin Feiyang was their son, and being praised by the two old men, they were naturally happy. After bidding farewell to Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, and Li Jian, Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Xiaofei and his sister, followed Emperor Chen and Lu Qiuyu back to the Autumn Rain Pavilion. In the main hall, the candlelight flickered. Qin Feiyang accompanied his parents for a long talk through the night. Being able to sit and drink tea with his parents was the happiest thing in his life. He cherished every minute and second of this moment. Unknowingly, the sky began to brighten, and the sun rose slowly. After washing up, Emperor Chen looked at the mother and son and said with a smile, "You two talk, I will go to the morning assembly." "Okay." Lu Qiuyu nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Father, as the emperor of a generation, you can't be too sentimental." Emperor Chen was slightly taken aback and scolded with a smile, "Brat, do you still need to teach me?" After saying that, he turned and left. Lu Xiaojia suspiciously looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Uncle, what do you mean by that?" "Sister, you still don't understand. Yesterday, Uncle dethroned Wu Ho. This storm will definitely not calm down in a short time. He said that to remind grandfather not to give these people any thoughts." Lu Xiaofei said. "So it's like that." Lu Xiaojia nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the brother and sister and asked, "I say, you two didn't sleep all night, aren't you sleepy?" "Just kidding. No matter what, I am also a cultivator. Which cultivator do you think would be sleepy?" Lu Xiaofei raised his head, a little proud. "Cultivators are amazing." "I'm a little sleepy." Qin Feiyang said. "You're sleepy." Lu Xiaofei was startled. He immediately stood up, looked at Qin Feiyang with concern, and asked, "Uncle, you can't be sick, right?" "Sick?" Qin Feiyang was startled. "If you're not sick, why would you be sleepy?" Lu Xiaofei said. "You're the one who's sick." Qin Feiyang glared at him snappily, and said, "Sooner or later, you will understand how blissful and luxurious it is to lie in bed and sleep." "Blissful? Extravagant? I really don't understand." Lu Xiaofei shook his head. In his opinion, sleeping was a waste of time. He might as well use this time to cultivate. No rush. Your life has just begun. You will slowly understand in the future. Qin Feiyang laughed. Princess Yun, Princess Wan, Prince Xian, Prince Ji, Princess Yi, Prince Yi has arrived. Suddenly. Following a shout, Qin Xian and the other 5 ran into the pavilion and bowed, "Mother, big brother." Lu Qiuyu nodded and smiled. "It's quite early." Qin Feiyang looked at the 6 of them. Qin Xian laughed and said, "How dare we neglect big brother's orders? Don't be glib. And, from this moment on, I am not your big brother." Qin Feiyang said. "What do you mean?" The 6 of them looked at each other. Qin Feiyang did not explain and said lightly, "Give me all your qiankuan bags." Qiankuan bags? The 6 of them were suspicious. "Hurry up, don't dawdle." White-Eyed Wolf shouted. Okay. The 6 of them took out their qiankuan bags and handed them to Qin Feiyang. "Mother, help them keep these qiankuan bags first." Qin Feiyang turned around and handed the 6 qiankuan bags to Lu Qiuyu. "Okay." Lu Qiuyu nodded and took the 6 qiankuan bags. At this time, Qin Haotian strode into the hall and directly took out his qiankuan bag without saying anything. "You don't need it." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Qin Haotian was slightly stunned and then put away his qiankuan bag. Qin Xian said unhappily, Big brother, why doesn't brother Haotian have to hand over his Qianquan bag? This is unfair. There is no fairness in this world. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he waved his hand and disappeared with Qin Haotian and the others. Black Tortoise World. At the edge of the desert of death. In the sky. A group of people appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang and the others. Where is this? Qin Xian and the others looked around curiously. In contrast, Qin Haotian and Qin Ji were relatively calm, but there was a trace of doubt in their eyes. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and extended his perception infinitely. Soon, he found the fire lotus somewhere in the netherworld sea. Immediately after. With a thought, the fire lotus appeared in front of him. What a beautiful sister. Big brother, is she your confidant? The few of them looked at the fire lotus in surprise. Qin Yi, that little guy, looked at Qin Feiyang innocently and asked. Confidant? The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. This kid was a little precocious. Fire Lotus looked at the few of them, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Are they your younger siblings? N. Qin Feiyang nodded. Fire Lotus looked at the few of them and smiled, Hello. Hello, sister. Qin Yi ran to Fire Lotus and said, Sister, you're so beautiful. Your little mouth is so sweet. Fire Lotus rubbed Qin Yi's head, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Why did you bring them here? To sharpen their skills. Qin Feiyang said. Sharpen their skills? Fire Lotus was stunned and nodded, Understood. Then I'll leave this matter to you. Right, Qin Feiyang pointed to Qin Haotian and said, He doesn't need to sharpen his skills, just take him to the Devil's Land to cultivate in seclusion. All right. Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission, Unless it's a matter of life and death, don't give them any help. Don't worry. Fire Lotus smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded and disappeared again. Sister, where is this? What is your relationship with Big Brother? As soon as Qin Feiyang left, the two little guys looked at Fire Lotus and asked. Fire Lotus smiled and looked at Qin Haotian, Come behind me. Qin Haotian nodded and silently walked behind Fire Lotus. Fire Lotus then looked at Qin Xian and the others. Boom! Suddenly, a monstrous divine might emerged. Under this divine might, the six of them suddenly fell into the abyss of death. I won't answer any of your questions. All you need to know is that you will face a situation of 9 deaths and 1 life. And, I won't give you any help. Do you see the desert below? This desert is called the Desert of Death, one of the biggest forbidden areas here. The storm here can even kill a false god. And your mission is to cross the Desert of Death. Fire Lotus said coldly. What? The 6 of them suddenly changed their expressions. Go. Whether you can survive or not depends on your luck. Fire Lotus waved her hand, and the 6 of them fell into the desert below uncontrollably. They looked around, their eyes full of fear. Chapter 2773. They're panicking just like that. They're indeed delicate. Fire Lotus shook her head. They grew up under the care of father and mother and have never experienced such a situation. Moreover, it's so sudden, it will definitely be difficult for them to adapt. Qin Haotian said. Then, if one day, Great Qin falls into danger again, what will they do? Will they also be in such a panic? If that's the case, then they will only die faster. After Fire Lotus finished speaking, she lowered her head and looked at the mountains and rivers outside the Desert of Death. Seeing this, Qin Haotian suddenly had an uneasy premonition in his heart. All the beasts below the War Emperor, listen up, immediately enter the Desert of Death and chase after them. Fire Lotus shouted. Roar! At that moment, one after another, the loud roars of beasts rang out, and the earth began to tremble as if there was a huge earthquake. What? Qin Xian and the others looked over in shock, only to see a group of beasts rushing towards the desert of death like a torrent. Immediately, the 6 of them changed their expressions and raised their heads to look at Fire Lotus and Qin Haotian. "You guys are on your own," Fire Lotus said coldly, then turned around and left with Qin Haotian without looking back. "I thought there was something fun, but I didn't expect to be chased by beasts. Big Brother is trying to kill us." Qin Xian cried out in sorrow. "What are you shouting for? Can't you tell? Big Brother is tempering us. Hurry up and activate the concealment technique, run." In comparison, Guo was slightly calmer. The flustered Qin Xian immediately activated the concealment technique and escaped with the 5 of them. Devil's Land. Qin Haotian stood above the medicine field and looked down with his mouth agape. There were actually so many medicinal herbs. And they were all above 10,000 years old. Furthermore, he had never seen most of the medicinal herbs before. And the energy here. Wasn't this too terrifying? As soon as he arrived here, his cultivation began to loosen, as if he was about to break through. Fire Lotus said, "This is our base camp, the Devil's Land." "Devil's Land," Qin Haotian muttered. How was this a Devil's Land? It was simply a cultivator's paradise. Boom! As the energy continued to pour into his body, his cultivation could no longer be controlled and directly broke through. He broke through a small realm just like that. Qin Haotian was dumbfounded. First, find a place to cultivate in seclusion. When you break through to the 9-star Battle Emperor level, I will explain to you the profound meaning of becoming a god. Fire Lotus said. Qin Haotian looked at the Fire Lotus and asked, "Can I really become a god in a day?" "Of course not." Fire Lotus said. Qin Haotian was slightly taken aback and hurriedly asked, "Then what did he say?" "According to the time outside, it is indeed possible within a day." Fire Lotus said. "The time outside?" Qin Haotian was taken aback and asked suspiciously, "What does this mean?" Fire Lotus said, "To put it simply, a day outside is 1,000 years here." What? Qin Haotian's body shook. A day outside was equivalent to 1,000 years here. What kind of joke was this? How could that be possible? There are some things that you can't understand yet. Work hard on your cultivation. You're dreaming if you want to defeat your brother with your current strength. Fire Lotus shook her head and turned to leave. Qin Haotian hurriedly asked, "Then may I ask, what is your cultivation level?" Fire Lotus pondered for a moment and said without turning her head, "With my cultivation level, you don't even have the qualifications to look up to me." After saying that, she took a step forward and disappeared from Qin Haotian's sight. "I don't even have the qualifications to look up to you," Qin Haotian muttered as he raised his head and scanned his surroundings. This was his base camp. Crack. Suddenly, he clenched his fists. His eyes shone with determination. "No matter how strong you are, I will catch up to you and defeat you." Autumn Rain Building. Backyard. Lu Qiuyu was making breakfast. Qin Feiyang, Lu Xiaofei, and Lu Xiaojia were all helping at the side. Lu Xiaofei asked curiously, "Uncle, where did you take them?" "You want to go too? I can fulfill your wish." Qin Feiyang looked at him with ill intentions. This, Lu Xiaofei felt a little guilty. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like a good thing. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will bring you and your sister there sooner or later. Before that, you have to be mentally prepared." The siblings looked at each other, swallowed their saliva, and smiled awkwardly. "Why don't we forget it? In your dreams. I didn't let you in now because I still need you to lead the way." Qin Feiyang said. "That's right. This pair of brother and sister had to be sharpened as well. Lead the way." The siblings were stunned. Yes. Go look for your Uncle Situ and Uncle Ling Yunfei. Qin Feiyang said. The siblings nodded. Lu Qiuyu asked, Feiyang, when are you going to look for them? Let's go after breakfast. Qin Feiyang smiled. All right. After all, we haven't seen each other for so many years. Seeing you return, they must be very happy. Lu Qiuyu nodded. Yes. It's fine if you don't come back. This time, I miss them very much. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Lu Qiuyu smiled and said, then after going to the spiritual state, let's also visit the Mermaid Emperor. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Qiuyu said, an elder Ren, Jiang Zhengyi, Yan Nanshan, Feng Qing, Black Bear King, and the others are also in the spiritual state. They are also in the spiritual state. Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. I wanted to leave them in the capital, but they said that they are used to life in the spiritual state, so your father and I didn't force them. Lu Qiuyu smiled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. In the past, old Master Ren, for example, wanted to stay in the capital. But now, he was still unwilling to stay in the capital. Sure enough. After experiencing some things, one's state of mind would slowly change. Qin Feiyang asked, what about Luo Qingzhu, Feng Ling Er, and Ren Wushuang? Why? Are you still missing them? Lu Qiuyu smiled. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a bitter smile, Mother, what are you thinking about? What am I thinking about? You are friends, so it's normal to miss them. You are thinking too much. Lu Qiuyu looked at Qin Feiyang with a teasing smile. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and the bitter smile on his face deepened. Lu Qiuyu said, they are now in the spiritual state's holy palace. Holy palace? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Lu Qiuyu nodded. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, what are they doing in the holy palace? Managing the holy palace and cultivating talents for great Qin. Lu Qiuyu smiled. That's really surprising. Qin Feiyang mumbled. Don't say, they are quite capable. Why don't you just marry them all? Lu Qiuyu said. Again. Qin Feiyang was helpless. You child. Look at them, they are beautiful and capable. They are the goddesses in many men's hearts. You are the only one who doesn't know how lucky you are. Lu Qiuyu rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang. Don't. I don't want to be like father, who has many wives and concubines. It is enough to have one in this life. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Sure enough. It is impossible to expect you to give birth to the Qin clan. Lu Qiuyu shook her head. Then I will have to trouble you, mother. Qin Feiyang smirked. Kid, are you asking for a beating? Lu Qiuyu's face darkened. Mother, you don't know, but grandpa and great-grandpa want you and father to have a few more children. Qin Feiyang said. More children? Lu Qiuyu's mouth twitched. He really thought of her as that. After having a good breakfast, Qin Feiyang stood up, looked at Lu Qiuyu, and said with a smile, then I will go to the spirit state first. Lu Qiuyu nodded and said, come back early. I will probably come back at least tomorrow. After all, there are too many old friends to visit. Qin Feiyang said. Then you can have a good gathering with them. Lu Qiuyu smiled. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and disappeared with White-Eyed Wolf and Lu Xiaofei. Spirit State. Butterfly Valley. Although the battle back then destroyed everything here, after years of recuperation, it had already recovered. Moreover, just like before, there were all kinds of wild flowers here. Among the flowers, there were medicinal herbs planted, and groups of butterflies were flying among the flowers. It didn't look much different from before. Qin Feiyang suddenly had a trace of surprise on his face. What? White-eyed Wolf looked at him suspiciously. There are so many familiar auras. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and carefully sensed for a moment before smiling. Here, he sensed Old Master Ren's aura and Zhu Yu, who had once protected the Butterfly Valley. There was also Yan Nanshan, Feng Cheng, Jiang Zhengyi, Luo Qianxue, Lu Yun, Ji Shui, Li Ji, Elder Yuan, Black Bear King, and so on. Almost all his acquaintances were here. There are indeed a lot. White-eyed Wolf sensed and grinned. Everyone here had an inseparable relationship with them. For example, Lu Yun was once an elder of the Sacred Palace and took care of Qin Feiyang. Li Ji was once the steward of the Treasure Pavilion and later managed it. He even helped Qin Feiyang take care of Luo Qianxue. Ji Shui and Elder 10,000 Zhang also extended a helping hand when Qin Feiyang was in trouble. Yan Nanshan, Jiang Zhengyi, and Luo Qianxue naturally didn't need to be mentioned. The three of them treated Qin Feiyang well like their own children. Especially Luo Qianxue, in Qin Feiyang's eyes, she was like a mother. Feng Cheng was Feng Ling Heir's grandfather. Zhu Yu used to guard the Butterfly Valley and was also the Spirit State Mansion Lord before Old Master Ren. Back then, every time he entered the Forgotten Continent, he would interact with Zhu Yu. It could be said that these people were a part of his life that no one could erase. Lu Xiaofei pointed below and said, Grandpa Ren and the others all live beside that lake. Qin Feiyang looked over and saw small wooden buildings sitting beside the lake in picturesque disorder. He remembered that there was a lake in the Butterfly Valley in the past. And this lake was still in its original position. Actually, all of this was carefully arranged by Grandpa Ren and the others according to the original Butterfly Valley. Lu Xiaofei sighed. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, Why did you restore the original Butterfly Valley? Because you will come back sooner or later. They don't want you to look at the scene in front of you when you return to the Butterfly Valley and not feel unfamiliar. Lu Xiaofei said. I see. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. To even consider such a detail, he was truly considerate. Chapter 2774. It's indeed hard on them. The white-eyed wolf sighed. Even though it was so heartless, it couldn't help but feel touched. Although it seemed like a small matter, it was more meaningful to Qin Feiyang than anything else. There was a good saying. If you want to know if a person is really good to you, you have to look at the small details. Lu Xiaofei asked curiously, Uncle, will you place the spirit vein and crystal vein in the Butterfly Valley? What do you think? Qin Feiyang asked back. I'm not you. How would I know? Lu Xiaofei pursed his lips. Then shut up. You talk the most. Qin Feiyang glared at him, landed in the valley, and walked toward the lake step by step. The memories that had been sealed away also surged out of his mind. He had experienced too much in the Butterfly Valley. Because in the past, whether it was going to the imperial capital or going to the Forgotten Continent, he had to pass through this place. There were too many memories here. At the same time, by the lake, two people sat by the shore, drinking tea and fishing. They were Old Master Ren and Zhu Yu. I'm wondering, what am I doing today? I'm not comfortable staying in the imperial capital, so I came back to accompany you fishing. And it's still early in the morning. Zhu Yu frowned. Isn't this good? Ordinary life, peaceful days. Old Master Ren chuckled. Zhu Yu rolled her eyes at him, turned to look at the courtyard next to them, and said, Qianxue, is breakfast ready? Soon. Smoke curled up in the courtyard, and a gentle voice came out. The owner of this voice was Luo Qianxue. A year's plan is in the spring, and a day's plan is in the morning. The morning air is so good. Soon. Another old man walked out, stretched lazily, and walked to Old Master Ren and Zhu Yu. He poured a cup of tea, took a sip, and said with a smile, "Good morning." "Good morning. Look at what time it is now. Qianxue has been busy all morning, and you're only up now." Zhu Yu glared at the old man. "Qianxue is still young. How can an old man like me compare to her?" The old man chuckled as he grabbed a fishing rod and sat on a small stool to fish. "Old Feng. Shuang, and the rest won't be coming back today." Old Master Ren turned to look at the old man and said. That was right. This man was Feng Ling Er's grandfather, Feng Cheng. Although he died in Black Bear City, Qin Feiyang came to the spiritual state to find his corpse after opening the gate of rebirth. Then, he was resurrected with the Black Bear King and his son. He won't come. Feng Cheng was slightly taken aback. He turned to look at old Master Ren and asked doubtfully, "Why?" "It seems that the temple is recruiting disciples, so they are very busy." Old Master Ren said. "I see." Feng Cheng nodded and waved his hand. "Young people can't be compared to us old men. It's fine if you're busy." "Elder Feng, you're wrong. You are old, but we are still very young." Another burst of laughter sounded. Jiang Jingyi and Yan Nanshan walked out of their respective courtyards with smiles on their faces. "You have the nerve to say that? You're so young, yet you don't go out to make contributions. Instead, you spend all your time with us old men." Feng Cheng looked at the two of them in disdain. Yan Nanshan smiled. "Aren't we afraid that you will be lonely? That's why we stayed here to accompany you. Brother Jiang, don't you think so?" "Yes." Jiang Jingyi nodded. "Since you're all up, go and help. Are you going to let Qianxue work alone in the kitchen?" A few more people walked out of the courtyard. They were Ji Shui, Li Ji, Elder Wang, and Lu Yun. The person who spoke was Lu Yun. As he spoke, he glared at Yan Nanshan and Jiang Jingyi. "Don't speak. Qianxue is a woman, and so are you. Look at how virtuous Qianxue is. She pays for all our 3 meals a day." Yan Nanshan glanced at Lu Yun and pursed his lips. "What did you say? Say it again." Lu Yun immediately went forward and grabbed Yan Nanshan's ear. "Can't I speak the truth?" Yan Nanshan mumbled. "Can the truth be said in front of a woman?" Lu Yun snorted coldly and tugged at Ji Shui. "Don't stay with these stinky men. Let's go help Qianxue. Those who don't help are not allowed to eat later." Ji Shui shook her head and laughed. "See, it's all your fault for offending them. If we really don't have breakfast later, we'll settle the score with you." Li Ji and Elder Wang glared at Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun. "What does it matter? At most, we'll get some wild game. We'll have a few drinks when the time comes." Yan Nanshan waved his hand. "That's a good idea." Li Ji and Elder Wang's eyes lit up. Yan Nanshan sat beside Feng Cheng and looked at the float on the water. "Speaking of which, Ling Yunfei and Shuang haven't come to visit us in a long time. There's nothing we can do." "Who asked them to have children?" Jiang Jingyi shook his head. "Don't you think time passes too quickly? In the blink of an eye, Xiao Hong and Lu Zheng's 2 children are already so old. Fatso and Xiaoyan's children are also adults. Now, even Ling Yunfei and Shuang Er's children are 5 or 6 years old. They really have to admit that they're old." Yan Nanshan shook his head and sighed. "That's right. Thinking back to when they were young, it seems like it was only yesterday. What left the deepest impression on me was that I brought Fei Yang, Yunfei, Shuang Qingzhu, Ling and that wolf cub to Pan County to compete with the young people there. Although they were still young back then, they had already revealed their talents." Jiang Jingyi sighed. "That's right. It's not without reason that they can achieve what they do today. I just don't know if Fei Yang is alive or dead now." Yan Nanshan looked up at the sun and muttered. With Qin Feiyang's brains and methods, will anything happen to him? A loud and clear voice sounded. The Black Bear King and his son walked out of a cave. The bear cub had also grown up. Its size was comparable to the Black Bear King. That's true. With Feiyang's talent and personality, no matter where he goes, he is destined to be a dragon among men. Yan Nanshan nodded. All right, it's time to eat. At this moment, a dignified and virtuous woman walked out with a bowl and chopsticks. In the courtyard, there was a large round table with 10 wooden stools around it. Hearing that it was time to eat, Yan Nanshan and the others immediately stood up and walked towards the round table with a smile. My dear wife, thank you for your hard work. Jiang Jingyi walked to the woman's side, his rough face full of tenderness. That's right. This woman was Luo Qianxue. You know that I've worked hard. Why aren't you helping? Luo Qianxue rolled her eyes at him. I'll go help right away. Jiang Jingyi chuckled. It's already done. What else do I need your help for? Luo Qianxue said. Help me serve the dishes. Jiang Jingyi said with a smile without turning his head. Hearing this, Luo Qianxue couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. They're so happy. Not far away. The white-eyed wolf whispered. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. They had been here for a long time, but they didn't say anything. They just stood there and looked at this group of cute people. Their relationship now is like that of a family. Sometimes, even I envy them. Lu Xiaofei said telepathically. After all, this is the life that everyone yearns for. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, let's go and freeload. Freeload? Lu Xiaofei was stunned and hurriedly said, didn't we just eat at Grandma's place? Can't we eat again after eating? Qin Feiyang chuckled and strode towards the courtyard, saying loudly, Auntie Shui, add a few more pairs of bowls and chopsticks. Luo Qianxue was about to return to the kitchen when she suddenly heard this voice. She was slightly stunned. Why did this voice sound a little familiar? At the same time, Feng Cheng, Old Master Ren, and the others were also stunned. They immediately turned around and looked in the direction of the voice. When they saw Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Lu Xiaofei walking towards the courtyard, they immediately froze. Feiyang? Wolf cub? This wasn't a dream, right? What's going on? Jiang Jingyi walked out with 2 side dishes. Looking at everyone's expressions, he also looked towards Qin Feiyang and the others. He was instantly stunned. Lu Yun and Ji Shui also walked out with 2 side dishes in their hands. When they saw Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, their bodies suddenly froze. Qin Feiyang. The white-eyed wolf. Why were they here? Illusion, it must be an illusion. Old Master Ren rubbed his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang again. They were still here, then it wasn't an illusion. In other words, Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were really back. But this was too sudden. He was completely unprepared. Crack. Suddenly, the 2 side dishes in Jiang Jingyi's hands slipped to the ground and shattered. The dishes also fell to the ground. It was also this crisp sound that woke everyone up. Feiyang. At that moment, a group of people ran towards Qin Feiyang. Ji Shui and Lu Yun also hurriedly walked to the round table, put down the plates in their hands, and quickly walked over. Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, is it really you guys? We're not dreaming. A group of people surrounded Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Even though the living people were standing in front of them, they still found it hard to believe. The white-eyed wolf grinned and bit Yan Nanshan's arm. Then, he looked at Yan Nanshan and asked, does it hurt? Nonsense, of course it hurts. Yan Nanshan said angrily as he rubbed his arm. Since it hurts, it must be a dream. The white-eyed wolf said. Yan Nanshan was stunned. That's right. Pain meant that it wasn't a dream. Old Master, Senior Zhu Yu, Elder Feng, Uncle Yan, Aunt Shui, Qin Feiyang scanned them one by one and said with a smile, "We're back." "It's really you, kid." Yan Nanshan immediately stepped forward, fiercely punched Qin Feiyang's chest, and said, "We were just talking about you just now," and in the next moment, "You brat appeared. Is this a special surprise for us?" "Hee hee. That's right. We've been here for a long time, but we've been hiding over there. How is it? Is it a surprise?" The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly. "It's too, a surprise." Yan Nanshan was so excited that he was incoherent. Chapter 2775. How could they not be excited? It had been a few hundred years since Qin Feiyang left Great Qin. To mortals, this was a few lifetimes. Although Yan Nanshan and the others were all cultivators and were not weak, they were now living the lives of ordinary people. Therefore, to them, a few hundred years was too long. They had fantasized countless times that one day, Qin Feiyang would suddenly stand behind them, fiercely pat their shoulders, and give them an unexpected surprise. "Everyone, I'm back." They didn't expect that at this moment, he would really give them a surprise. It was simply unexpected. "It's good that you're back." Luo Qianxue walked in front of Qin Feiyang, grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand, and smiled happily. Her eyes were filled with tears, blurring her vision. Auntie Shui, Qin Feiyang looked at the woman in front of him and couldn't help but feel his heart ache. In the past, when he was stranded in Iron Ox Town, other than Uncle Yuan, the person who cared about him the most was this woman in front of him. It was as if she treated him as her biological child. Sometimes, even her daughter, Luo Qingzhu, couldn't help but feel jealous. It could be said that, during that period of time, he enjoyed a long-awaited period of maternal love. To be able to see this mother-like existence again, he was extremely happy. "Don't let Feiyang stand there all the time. Lu Yun, hurry up and get a few more sets of bowls and chopsticks. Prepare to eat." Jiang Zhengyi urged. Okay. Lu Yun came back to her senses and ran into the backyard. Just as she turned around, she quietly wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Yes. Sit here." Luo Qianxue pulled Qin Feiyang and turned to walk towards the round table. Old Master Ren and the others looked at each other, wiped away their tears, and walked towards the round table with smiles on their faces. "Grandpa Ren, you guys are too much. Uncle is back, and you treat us like air." Lu Xiaofei complained unhappily. "Ah." Everyone was stunned. "Rascal. Usually, when you come to play, I've never seen you be so polite to us." Yan Nanshan scolded jokingly. Hearing this, Lu Xiaofei rubbed his head and chuckled. As expected, he was not polite at all. He ran to the round table and sat down. After everyone was seated, Yan Nanshan asked, "Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, when did you guys come back?" 3 days ago. Qin Feiyang said. Yan Nanshan frowned and said, "Then why aren't you in the capital to accompany your mother? It hasn't been easy for your mother all these years." What a joke. How could giving birth to 7 children be easy? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I was in a hurry to visit you. I'm really touched by your words. Why don't we do it a little?" Yan Nanshan took out a wine jar the size of a rubber ball from his chinquan bag and grinned. "What are you doing early in the morning?" Lu Yun walked out with a bowl and chopsticks and glared at Yan Nanshan. "I'm just happy." Yan Nanshan smiled. "What's the situation?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. There seemed to be something wrong with Lu Yun and Uncle Yan. "Uncle, you don't know. They have already." Lu Xiaofei stuck out 2 thumbs, moving them up and down. His smile was extremely ambiguous. "Oh. Qin Feiyang was puzzled. What did he mean? Lu Xiaofei was helpless. Uncle, you really don't understand. You insist that I explain that they have already become partners. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. The white-eyed wolf also looked at Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun in shock. It can't be. The two of them actually became partners. When Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun saw this, they looked a little embarrassed. A single man and a single woman will develop feelings over time, we'll talk about it again. They're not young anymore. It's indeed time for them to find a partner. Jiang Jingyi laughed out loud. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak. Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun glared at Jiang Jingyi at the same time. All right. I won't say it. I won't say it. Jiang Jingyi waved his hand. Lu Yun put down his bowl and chopsticks and sat beside Yan Nanshan. He said with a smile, Feiyang, I'm sorry for making a fool of myself. No. This is a good thing. I have to congratulate you. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and stood up with cupped hands. Congratulations to Uncle Yan and Auntie Yun for getting married. Good. The corners of Yan Nanshan's mouth twitched. What's with your reaction? Lu Yun pricked up his brows. No. Yan Nanshan hurriedly shook his head. It looks like another henpecked husband. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. The moment that was said, everyone burst into laughter. Qin Feiyang also laughed out loud. He returned to his stool and asked, then, Uncle Yan, Auntie Yun, what about your children? Children? The couple was taken aback. Since you are all together, you should be like my father and mother. Have a bunch of children and grandchildren. Only then will life be fun. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. A bunch? Yan Nanshan was so frightened that he trembled. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, forget it. We're all so old. There's no need to tire ourselves out. You call this old? Qin Feiyang was speechless. As a cultivator, he had to have a youthful mindset. Some people in the ancient world had lived for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. Didn't they still get married and have children? The white-eyed wolf said, Auntie Shui, Uncle Yan, I heard you talking about Ling Yunfei's children. They're only 5 or 6 years old. Yes. Everyone nodded. That kid isn't good. Look at Lu Zheng and little Hongzi. Their son and daughter have already grown up. Look at Fatso and Li Yan's son. He can already take Lu Xiaofei to Fragrant Moon Brothel. His children are actually so young. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Uncle Wolf, don't talk nonsense. Upon hearing this, Lu Xiaofei's expression changed as he hurriedly said. I'm talking nonsense. Didn't you say it yourself? The white-eyed wolf said. What did Lu Xiaofei want to say? But suddenly, a few pairs of eyes looked at them in unison. Grandpa Ren, listen to my explanation, Lu Xiaofei panicked and said with a flattering smile. If the white-eyed wolf didn't say it, how could we not know? Tell me honestly. When did you go? How many times have you been there? Jiang Jingyi said. Don't be so scary. We've only been there once. Also, we just went there to eat and drink. Lu Xiaofei hurriedly explained, not forgetting to glare at the white-eyed wolf. Is that so? Jiang Jingyi looked at him unkindly. Lu Xiaofei nodded and said, yes. If you don't believe me, you can ask Sidu Feiyang. Who doesn't know that the two of you grew up wearing open-crotch pants? Ask him. What can you get out of him? I think you have to ask your parents about this. Jiang Jingyi said. Don't. You can't tell them about this. Otherwise, with my mother's bad temper, she will break my leg. Can you bear to see a good young man with a bright future being destroyed just like that? Lu Xiaofei looked at Jiang Jingyi pitifully. Brat. Jiang Zhengyi laughed and scolded him. He shook his head and said, "All right, I'll let you off this time. Don't go to such a brothel in the future." "Yes, yes, yes." Lu Xiaofei was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. Then back to the topic. Ling Yunfei is different from Lu Zheng and Fatso. He doesn't like to be restrained. In short, he just wants to spend time with Shuang, while he's young. If it weren't for his mother's constant urging, he probably wouldn't have the mood to have a child now. Jiang Zhengyi looked at the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile. "This is normal. Seeing that Lu Zheng and Fatso's child is already so big, Aunt Lu Ji will definitely be anxious." Qin Feiyang smiled. Lu Ji was Ling Yunfei's mother. "Isn't that so? In the past, every time we met, she would frown and sigh. But now she's fine. Ever since Ling Yunfei and Shuang gave birth to a little granddaughter for her, she's changed completely." Jiang Zhengyi said with a smile. "Little granddaughter?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes. They gave birth to a daughter. Lu Ji is still urging them to give birth to a fat boy." Jiang Zhengyi said. "I really envy them. They can live such a carefree life and do whatever they want." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "What about you? How's your relationship with Xiaoyu going?" Luo Qianxue asked. "We're doing well." Qin Feiyang nodded. "You're not married yet?" Luo Qianxue asked. "No. At the moment, I don't have such plans." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Then you have to hurry up. Otherwise, when Ling Yunfei's grandchildren are running around, you won't be married yet." Luo Qianxue said. "Wait for the next time. The next time I come back, I'll definitely invite everyone to my wedding. You should also prepare a gift as soon as possible." Qin Feiyang chuckled. "Next time." Everyone was stunned. Old Master Ren asked, "You're still leaving?" "Yes. There are still many things that haven't been dealt with properly." Qin Feiyang said. "Is it important?" Luo Qianxue asked. "It's very important." Qin Feiyang nodded. Luo Qianxue wanted to ask something more, but Jiang Zhengyi suddenly interrupted her. He glared at her and said, "Why are you asking so many questions? You can't help." "I'm just concerned." Luo Qianxue was dissatisfied. "Just keep your concern in your heart. Come on, come on. The food is getting cold. Hurry up and eat." Jiang Zhengyi looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile. "Then I won't stand on ceremony." Qin Feiyang chuckled, picked up a bowl of millet porridge, and wolfed it down. As he ate, he nodded and said, "Auntie Shue's cooking is delicious." Luo Qianxue smiled slightly and looked at Qin Feiyang without saying a word. Her eyes were filled with love. In her mind, she couldn't help but think of Qin Feiyang from back then. At that time, although Qin Feiyang lived a life full of disasters, he didn't give up and walked all the way strong. Later on, in order to save everyone, he even sacrificed himself. Fortunately, the heavens were fair and didn't really take his life. Old Master Ren, Yan Nanshan, Feng Qing, Jiang Zhengyi, Lu Yun, Ji Shui, Li Ji, Elder 30,000 Zhang, and He Xiong also looked at Qin Feiyang with smiles. Although so many years had passed and Qin Feiyang now had unparalleled achievements, he didn't put on any airs in front of them. He was exactly the same as the youth from back then. He hadn't changed at all. Chapter 2776. After a delicious breakfast, Qin Feiyang sat in the courtyard with everyone, drinking tea and chatting. "Feiyang, what do you want to eat for lunch? Tell me and I'll make it for you." Luo Qianxue finished cleaning up the dishes and sat beside Qin Feiyang with a smile. Jiang Zhengyi said, "Didn't we just finish breakfast?" "I prepared in advance." Luo Qianxue said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, when I come back this time, I'll probably gain at least 5 kilograms. 3 meals a day, every meal was very sumptuous. If this was in the past, it would be an extravagant hope. Because this was the kind of life he yearned for. Forget about lunch. I'll go see Qingzhou and the others first, then make a trip to the Sea of Despair, and finally go to Iron Bull Town. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. In such a hurry? Are you leaving tomorrow? Luo Qinshua frowned. Not really. I just can't wait to see them as soon as possible. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's fine too. Luo Qinshua nodded and said with a smile, you can go to Iron Bull Town and bring Ling Yunfei and his family here. Let's have a good gathering. Okay. Qin Feiyang smiled and took out a jar of tea leaves. He handed it to Old Master Ren and said, Old Master Ren, try my tea. What tea? Old Master Ren was suspicious. Yan Nanshan said, the tea leaves that Feiyang brought back are definitely not ordinary tea leaves. Old Master Ren took the tea jar and gently opened it. A fragrant smell immediately assailed his nose. Immediately. Old Master Ren's eyes lit up. He looked at Luo Qinshua and said, Qinshua, quickly brew a pot and let me try it. Okay. Luo Qinshua smiled. After a while, the intoxicating aroma of tea wafted through the air. Old Master Ren couldn't wait to taste it and couldn't help but praise, it's indeed good tea. It's indeed not bad. Jiang Jingyi also tasted the tea and nodded with a smile. This was planted by one of my sisters. This tea tree is also extremely rare. Even in the ancient realm, this tea is of the highest quality. Qin Feiyang smiled. Younger sister. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those sisters in the capital. I knew it. How could your sisters in the imperial capital brew such tea leaves? Speaking of which, how did you feel when you first saw your younger siblings? Yan Nanshan asked. Although it's the first time we've met, it's quite cordial. Qin Feiyang nodded. Definitely. Blood is thicker than water after all. Lu Yun nodded. Qin Feiyang said, I came back this time to do one more thing. What is it? Everyone looked at him suspiciously. I deposed all the martial marquis and even expelled Qin Li from the imperial capital. Qin Feiyang said. No way. Everyone was shocked. To Qin Feiyang, this might be a trivial matter, but to the people of Great Qin, it was an extremely shocking matter. Qin Feiyang said, do you think I did the right thing? You naturally have your reasons for doing so. Regardless of whether it's right or wrong, we will support you. Old Master Ren laughed hoarsely. Thank you, Old Master. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. In my opinion, dethroning the martial marquis is the right thing to do. Look at these people. Great Qin raised them and gave them status and identity that no one can match, but what about them? Not only do they not know how to be grateful, but they also rely on their ancestors' contributions to form cliques and oppose us in secret. If they continue to cause trouble like this, I'm afraid that the incident with the Zhuge family will happen again. Therefore, it's wise of me to depose them. On the other hand, Qin Li, I know a little about this kid's ambition, but he's your younger brother after all. Isn't it too much to expel him from the imperial capital? Yan Nanshan looked at Qin Feiyang and said. 5 years. I'll give him 5 years to reflect. If there are changes by then, I'll give him a chance. But if it's still the same as before, then I can only give up on him. Qin Feiyang said. 5 years, thinking back, you were expelled from the imperial capital by the emperor and even ended up in Iron Ox Town, where you were a cripple for 5 years. In comparison, he's still considered lucky. At least his cultivation is still there. Looking at it this way, you also put in a lot of effort for Qinli, Jiang Jingyi said with a smile. After all, he's my younger brother. How can I bear to let him go astray? Qin Feiyang sighed. I hope he can understand your painstaking efforts. Yan Nanshan smiled. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked up at the sun in the sky. He stood up and looked at everyone with a smile. All right, I'll go to the sacred palace now. Don't go to the sacred palace. Old man Ren shook his head. Why? Aren't they in the sacred palace? Qin Feiyang froze. Old man Ren smiled. They are in the inner hall of the sacred palace. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. The inner hall and the sacred palace were not in the same place. The sacred palace was in the state capital. But the inner hall was in the Tranquility Mountain Range. The Tranquility Mountain Range was the headquarters of the beasts in the spiritual state. It was extremely dangerous, and ordinary people did not dare to enter. And the Tranquility Mountain Range was adjacent to the Ocean of Despair. Then let's go to the inner hall. I wonder how they are now after so many years. Qin Feiyang smiled. They will definitely be shocked when they see you guys suddenly appear. Feng Qing chuckled. Lu Xiaofei opened a portal, and the 3 people and 1 wolf walked in one after another. This little guy is getting stronger and stronger. Looking at the dissipating portal, Yan Nanshan shook his head and sighed. Yeah. His current cultivation is like a vast ocean, unfathomable. It's hard to believe. What level has he reached now? Jiang Jingyi nodded. Luo Qianxue smiled. No matter how strong he is still our child, right? That's right. Old man Ren nodded. In front of a mountain range. Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Lu Xiaofei appeared out of thin air. Lu Xiaofei pointed at the mountain and said, Uncle, that is the Tranquility Mountain Range. I know. Qin Feiyang said. How do you know? Lu Xiaofei froze. Qin Feiyang smiled. I stayed in the inner hall back then, and the Ocean of Despair at the end of the Tranquility Mountain Range is your aunt's home. Yeah. How could I forget? Aunt Wushuang also said that when you guys entered the spiritual state, she came here to pick you guys up. Lu Xiaofei patted his head and said. She told you all this? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course. Aunts like me very much. Lu Xiaofei smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's right. Back then. He, White-Eyed Wolf, Fatso, and Lu Hong crossed the desert from the Yan County and came to the Ocean of Despair. It was in the Ocean of Despair that he met the Mermaid Princess. And it was also at that time that he activated the purple gold dragon soul and formed the heart's knot with the Mermaid Princess. From then on, their fates were tied together. But at that time, he, who was blinded by hatred, hid his feelings and left the Ocean of Despair. When they entered the Tranquility Mountain Range, they found that it was surprisingly big. And there were ferocious beasts everywhere. In the end, they had no choice but to send a message to Ren Wushuang. After Ren Wushuang heard about it, he came to the Tranquility Mountain Range and brought them to the state capital. Although it had been a long time, it seemed like it just happened yesterday. Take it. The White-Eyed Wolf suddenly threw a pill to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He quickly caught the pill and found that it was an illusion pill. He frowned and said, What? What do you think? The White-Eyed Wolf sneered. You guy. Qin Feiyang shook his head and took the illusion pill, slightly changing his appearance. The White-Eyed Wolf turned into a big black dog again. He looked at Lu Xiaofei and his sister and urged, You two hurry up. Boring. Lu Xiaojie pouted. That's right, Uncle Wolf, you're too childish. Lu Xiaofei also said. You don't want to, right? Then get out of here now. The White-Eyed Wolf said. Yes, yes. Hearing this, the brother and sister quickly nodded and took out an illusion pill and threw it into their mouths. That's more like it. Let's go. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and led Qin Feiyang and the brother and sister into the depths of the mountain range. Once, when they were still in the War King, it would take them at least a few years to cross this mountain range. But now, it was only a few blinks of an eye. Even standing on this side of the mountain range, one could see the Sea of Despair on the other side. Of course, the white-eyed wolf did not use his extreme speed. He just treated it as if he was revisiting an old place. A moment later, a towering mountain peak entered his line of sight. At the peak of the mountain, there were many majestic palaces. This was the location of the inner palace. It can't be, there's actually a statue here. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf looked at the peak of a mountain, his eyes filled with speechlessness. Statue. Qin Feiyang raised his head and saw an eye-catching statue on the peak of the mountain. And the statue was none other than him. I heard from Auntie and the others that the statue of Uncle was erected here to encourage the disciples of the inner palace. And to let them always remember that it was you who resurrected all the creatures in the spiritual state. Lu Xiaofei said. Is that necessary? How great are you making it? The white-eyed wolf was disdainful. Uncle has always been great. Especially in the spiritual state. Whether it's the beasts or humans, they all regard Uncle as a god. And as time passed, the major states began to imitate him. Now, all the major cities in the 9 states and 18 counties have statues of Uncle. During the holidays, everyone still burns incense and prays in front of the statue. Lu Xiaofei said. Damn, is it that exaggerated? The white-eyed wolf was shocked. It's not exaggerated at all. In short, in the eyes of the people of the great Qin Empire, Uncle is the guardian of this land. They can forget about other beliefs, but their belief in Uncle has not changed even after hundreds of years. Lu Xiaofei said proudly. His uncle was so great. As his nephew, of course he was proud. All right. The white-eyed wolf nodded helplessly. After all, it was Qin Feiyang who sacrificed himself to resurrect everyone back then. It was normal for everyone to be grateful. Chapter 2777. Inner Palace. At this moment, thousands of people gathered at the foot of a mountain. These people were basically in their 20s, and their temperament was quite outstanding. Their cultivation was basically at the Battle Emperor realm. Why are there so many people? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The inner palace disciples were selected from the Holy Palace. Thinking back, when he entered the inner palace, there were only a few people. But now, there were thousands of people. It seemed that the spiritual state had developed well these years. The white-eyed wolf chuckled, let's go and join in the fun. Join in the fun? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The white-eyed wolf said, pretend to be one of them. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Were they here to experience life? Don't dawdle, hurry up. Suppress your cultivation to the 1-star Battle Emperor realm. The white-eyed wolf urged. So troublesome. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Uncle Wolf, I'm afraid that won't work. Look, they are all wearing the Holy Palace's uniform. If we run over like this, we will definitely be seen through. Lu Xiaofei said. Do you still need to ask me for such a small matter? Hurry up and get a few sets of clothes. The white-eyed wolf said. All right. Lu Xiaofei nodded helplessly and opened a portal to leave. In less than 10 breaths, Lu Xiaofei came back with 2 sets of clothes in his hands. One was a long dress with the Holy Palace's logo on it. Not bad, where did you get it? The white-eyed wolf asked. Lu Xiaofei said proudly, I have been to the Holy Palace more than once or twice. It's just a few clothes, it's a piece of cake. A piece of cake. You obviously went to steal it. The white-eyed wolf looked down on him. Didn't you ask me to go? Lu Xiaofei was stunned and said angrily. I didn't ask you to steal it. Kid, your character is not good. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Lu Xiaofei was furious and roared, Uncle, look at Uncle Wolf, get used to it, get used to it. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Don't dawdle. Hurry up and change. The white-eyed wolf urged. After Lu Xiaofei gave the clothes to Qin Feiyang and Lu Xiaojia, he stared at white-eyed wolf and said, Uncle Wolf, I find that you are really shameless. After saying that, he quickly put on the clothes in his hands. Lu Xiaojia also went down to the jungle and changed her clothes. Qin Feiyang also changed his clothes. Set off. The white-eyed wolf waved its claws and flew into the inner palace in high spirits. Very soon. 3 people and 1 wolf sneaked into the crowd without anyone noticing. Why is there a big black dog? Qin Feiyang's trio did not attract much attention, but white-eyed wolf was quickly noticed. Never seen such a handsome dog. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the man. It was a young man dressed in black. He was about 20 years old and had the cultivation of a 2-star combat emperor. Handsome. When the young man in black heard this, he was slightly stunned and then looked at the white-eyed wolf strangely. What are you looking at? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. I'm just curious. Since when did our holy palace have such a narcissistic dog? The young man in black was suspicious. That's because I keep a low profile. I'm not like you guys who always jump out to make your presence known. It's as if you're afraid that people don't know you. The white-eyed wolf despised him. All right. I'll take it. The young man in black shook his head. He had seen many narcissistic people, but this was the first time he had seen such a narcissistic dog. Qin Feiyang looked at the peak of the mountain and asked suspiciously, Senior brother, what are we waiting for? Of course, we are waiting for the 3 temple masters. The young man in black said. Temple masters? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The young man in black looked at Qin Feiyang's reaction as if he was looking at a monster and said, It can't be. You don't even know the 3 temple masters. This, Qin Feiyang really didn't know. Seeing that they were about to be exposed, Lu Xiaofei quickly took over the conversation and said, The 3 temple masters are famous, who doesn't know? It's just that we haven't seen the 3 of them with our own eyes, so we are a little curious. I knew it. Let alone the spiritual state, people in the other 8 states also know the name of our temple masters. The young man in black said. Xiaofei, who are these temple masters? Qin Feiyang secretly said. You will know later. Lu Xiaofei smiled mysteriously. Still keeping me in suspense. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Wait a minute. Could it be them? Suddenly, 3 stunning figures appeared in Qin Feiyang's mind. About half an hour later. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly descended from the sky. The crowd hurriedly raised their heads and saw 3 women standing in the sky above them. It's really them. Qin Feiyang muttered. That's right. These 3 people were Ren Wushuang, Feng Ling Er, and Luo Qingzhu. After hundreds of years, not only did the 3 of them become stronger, but their charm was also far greater than before. Greetings to the 3 temple masters. In an instant, everyone knelt on the ground. A group of men looked up at them as if they were looking at a goddess. Squat down. The white-eyed wolf pulled Qin Feiyang's clothes. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and quickly squatted on the ground. Get up. It was Feng Ling Er who spoke. She was wearing a black outfit as usual, which outlined her perfect figure vividly and looked extremely capable. Not bad, not bad. Little Qin Zi, you can think about it again. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Think about what? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Nonsense, of course, to marry her. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes. Get lost. Qin Feiyang glared at him fiercely, then looked up at Foam Ling Air again. Don't say it. Her exquisite figure was almost like a demon. This little girl was really becoming more and more attractive. Qin Feiyang looked at Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wuxuang again. Luo Qingzhu was wearing a snow-white dress, which was spotless. Her black hair was like a waterfall. Although her figure was not as good as Foam Ling Air's, her temperament was different. She was like a fairy in the wind, floating in the dust. Ren Wuxuang was wearing a purple dress. Her figure was exquisite, and her long hair was tied up with an exquisite jade hairpin. Compared to before, she looked noble and sacred at this time. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Little Qin Zi, you don't know how lucky you are. You deserve to be single for the rest of your life. The white-eyed wolf secretly despised him. Get lost. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Ren Wuxuang was needless to say. He had always treated Ren Wuxuang as an elder sister. Although Luo Qingzhu was interested in him, he also treated her as a younger sister. As for Foam Ling Air, in his impression, she was the representative of unruly people. He had been bullied by her a lot in the county of Yen. Of course. As for Foam Ling Air, he also treated her as a family member. He had never had any romantic feelings for her. This kind of relationship was actually quite good. There was no need to mix in other feelings. He also believed that the three of them would find their own home sooner or later. By then, he would faithfully send his blessings. A total of more than 3,500 people were selected this time, more than in previous years. This shows that the spiritual state's holy palace is getting stronger and stronger. Foam Ling Air looked at the group of people below and said faintly with a great pressure in her voice. The female disciples at the scene were fine, but the male disciples were all looking at the three of them with admiration. The white-eyed wolf stretched out his paw and poked the young man in black who had just spoken to them, saying in disdain, "Hey, hey, hey, you're drooling." "Am I?" The young man in black froze and hurriedly wiped the corner of his mouth. There was indeed drool, and he looked a little embarrassed. "It's just a woman," the white-eyed wolf said. "What do you know? Look at these men here. Which one of them isn't here for the three holy palace masters?" The young man in black whispered. "What? Are they here for them?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned. "Of course. Otherwise, why do you think people from other states would come to our spiritual state's holy palace?" The young man in black said. "What? These people aren't from the spiritual state?" The white-eyed wolf was shocked. "Of course there are from the spiritual state, and many from other states." The young man in black whispered. "That's not right. Don't the other 8 states also have holy palaces?" The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. "The other 8 states do have holy palaces, but can they be compared with our spiritual state? The spiritual state's holy palace not only has the 3 powerful and beautiful holy palace masters, but also our guardian, Lord Qin Feiyang." The young man in black said with a face full of pride. "Ugh." The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. How did this guy get involved again? Lord Qin Feiyang, the guardian of Great Qin, came from our spiritual state. Besides, he used to be a disciple of the Holy Palace, so people from the other 8 states all came here to admire him. The young man in black said proudly. "So, half of the people here are here because of Qin Feiyang, and the other half because of the 3 Holy Palace Masters?" The white-eyed wolf said. "Yes." The young man in black nodded. "Look at you guys. I guess even Qin Feiyang's worn shoes would be fragrant in front of you." The white-eyed wolf was speechless. "How can you say that?" The young man in black stared at the white-eyed wolf and said with admiration, if I really get a pair of shoes worn by the guardian, I will take it home and worship it like an ancestor. It's hopeless. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Qin Feiyang was also a little helpless. This was indeed too exaggerated. At this moment, Feng Ling Air said again, but don't think that you can enter the inner palace just because you come here. What do you mean? Everyone was stunned. They were all selected from the Holy Palace and had been recognized. Why couldn't they enter the inner palace? The inner palace is the core of the Holy Palace and the place where talents are sent to the capital, so it must be stricter. That's why we came here in person. In other words, you have to pass my test to enter the inner palace. Feng Ling Air said. What if we don't pass? Someone asked. Feng Ling Air said, if we don't pass, we will be sent back to the Holy Palace. Palace Master. I don't think there was such a rule before. Someone questioned. Yes. This is a rule that only exists now, and it will be maintained in the future. Feng Ling Air said. Why did you suddenly set this rule? It's not fair to us. Everyone asked in a chatter. There is no fairness in this world. Everything depends on your ability. If you think it's unfair, then you can return to the Holy Palace now or leave the spiritual state. I won't stop you. Feng Ling Air shouted, her eyes as sharp as a blade, making people not dare to look directly at her. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wushuang behind her looked at each other with a trace of helplessness in their eyes. Actually, they didn't want to set this rule. But there was no other way. There were already many people in the spiritual state. And these years, young people from the other 8 states also flocked to the Holy Palace of the spiritual state. So now, both the Holy Palace and the Inner Palace could no longer accommodate them. So, they had to raise the threshold to enter the Inner Palace. And these years, the Holy Palace and the Inner Palace had been expanded several times, but it still couldn't solve the problem. A little more. Young people from the other 8 states came to the spiritual state, causing the Holy Palace of the 8 states to lose a lot of talent. The higher-ups of the Holy Palace of the 8 states, and even the mansion masters of the 8 states, had come to talk to them more than once. They hoped that they could reject the young people from the 8 states. But they were all citizens of the Great Qin, how could they bear to reject them? So after some discussion, they came up with this idea. Raise the difficulty of entering the inner palace and make them retreat. If they couldn't enter the inner palace, they might leave the spiritual state in disappointment and return to their state capitals. After all, with their talent, entering the inner palace of their state capitals was not a problem at all. Chapter 2778. As soon as Feng Ling Air finished speaking, the scene fell into dead silence. Leave? How was that possible? It wasn't easy to get to this point. Especially the young people from the other 8 states. They came all the way to the spiritual state just to enter the inner palace. Because entering the inner palace of the spiritual state was not only a supreme honor but also a great future. Because almost everyone in the 9 states knew that the 3 palace masters of the spiritual state were very close to the emperor and empress. What kind of existence were the emperor and empress? Not only were they the rulers of Great Qin, but they were also Qin Feiyang's father and mother. So, if they could enter the inner palace of the spiritual state, perform well, and gain the recognition of the 3 palace masters, they might be directly recommended to the emperor and empress. In this way, wouldn't they soar to the sky? Most importantly, there were rumors in the major states that the 3 palace masters of the spiritual state were all war gods. Why was it a rumor? Because in the past few hundred years, Feng Ling Air and the other 2 had never really fought. Therefore, their cultivation was only a legend. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd and looked up at Feng Ling Air with a smile. Palace Master, just tell me, what is the test? Feng Ling Air looked down at Qin Feiyang with a trace of surprise in her eyes. This calm expression, without the slightest hint of panic in his eyes, this young man didn't seem to be simple. Wait a minute. Why didn't she see this person when she went to the holy palace to choose? Feng Ling didn't think too much about it, thinking that she had overlooked this person before. I will personally take part in this test. After Feng Ling finished speaking, a terrifying aura burst out of her body and shrouded the stone stairs in front of her. The stone stairs led from the foot of the mountain to the top. Under my divine aura, those who reach the top will pass the test. Now, begin. Feng Ling shouted. Divine aura. She is indeed the war god. Thousands of people were shocked, and the admiration in their eyes grew stronger. Everyone, let's go. Once we successfully enter the inner palace, we will be able to receive guidance from the divine god of battle. This is a treatment that the other 8 prefectures do not have. Immediately, thousands of people ran towards the stone stairs as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Let's go. The black-clothed young man also called out to Qin Feiyang and the others, and ran towards the stone stairs without looking back. Is running so fast useful? The white-eyed wolf pouted. How could a group of battle emperors withstand the might of a god? However, for it and Qin Feiyang, it naturally existed in name only. Let's go. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and ran towards the stone stairs. How boring. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Wasn't this just messing around? Let it be. Anyway, it was rare for him to come back, so he might as well let him play freely. Very soon, the people who rushed to the front stepped onto the stone stairs. Immediately, it was as if all of them were stuck in a quagmire, unable to move an inch. This pressure is too terrifying. How can we climb up? Such a thought immediately arose in the minds of those who stepped onto the stone stairs. No way. It's a matter of future and glory, even if we have to climb up. One of the young men roared, gritted his teeth, and walked up with difficulty. The others also gritted their teeth and persevered, moving extremely slowly. After dozens of breaths, the person at the front had only climbed 10 steps. The others were all blocked at the back. Hey, get out of the way. Don't block the way in front. How are we going to go up? Someone was dissatisfied. The people in front were tactful. Hearing this, they retreated to the side and opened up a path in the middle, allowing those with good talent and potential to pass through. Don't say it. There were really some young people who walked up with ease. The potential of the people chosen this time is not bad. Luo Qingzhu nodded. This is just the beginning. Feng Ling said. Hundreds of breaths passed. Half of the people were still lining up at the foot of the mountain. Although everyone tried their best to walk from both sides of the stone stairs, the width of the stone stairs could only accommodate 5 or 6 people. And there were thousands of people at the scene. Therefore, they had to wait for the people in front to go up before the people behind could follow. So slow. The white-eyed wolf frowned. They were at the back. What's the hurry? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, glanced at Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia, and asked, Do you have the confidence to climb up? I'm sure I don't. Lu Xiaojia shook her head. She was only at the war chief level. I'm confident. Lu Xiaofei pondered for a moment, then nodded heavily. Qin Feiyang laughed, All right, then let's wait and see. Half an hour later. Everyone had already climbed up the stone stairs. There were more than a dozen young men and women who had already reached the halfway point of the mountain. Obviously, these dozen or so were all young people with good potential. Let's go up as well. Qin Feiyang smiled. The white-eyed wolf directly rushed up and did not feel any pressure. Qin Feiyang also followed suit and stepped onto the stone stairs. In an instant, he determined that the strength of this pressure was only at the War Master level. War Master, this probably wouldn't be difficult for Lu Xiaofei. This was because Lu Xiaofei was originally a War Master, and he had even opened the door of potential. Even Lu Xiaojia would be able to barely hold on for a while. After all, Lu Xiaojia had also opened the door of potential. So it's only a so-so. After Lu Xiaofei stepped onto the stone stairs, a trace of pride immediately crawled up his face. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and sent a sound transmission, "Uncle Wolf, let's go." "Ha ha. Let's give your aunt a surprise." The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly, then rushed towards the peak of the mountain like a wisp of smoke. Lu Xiaofei also followed closely behind. "It can't be." In the air. Feng Ling Er and the other two stared at the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei with their mouths agape. It was actually so easy. Are you guys perverts? You can still run so fast. The people on both sides of the stone stairs also looked at the man and the wolf in shock. The white-eyed wolf said disdainfully, "It's not that we are perverts, you guys are just too useless." "Brother dog, wait, bring me along." The black-clothed young man was also on the stone stairs. When he saw the white-eyed wolf running towards him, he hurriedly reached out his hand and called out. Scram! The white-eyed wolf swatted at him with its paw. The black-clothed young man immediately staggered and almost fell from the stone stairs. "Brother dog, don't be so heartless." The black-clothed young man exclaimed. "Is he close to you?" The white-eyed wolf glared at him, then ran up the stairs without looking back. "What's going on? How can a big black dog be so arrogant?" Feng Ling Er was stunned. Ren Wushuang said suspiciously, "Ling, when you went to the sanctum, did you see this big dog?" "I don't remember at all." Feng Ling Er shook her head. "You don't remember? Then is it from the sanctum? Could it be a ferocious beast nearby that came to join in the fun?" Ren Wushuang frowned. "It doesn't look like it. Look, it seems to be very familiar with that kid behind it." Feng Ling Er pointed at Lu Xiaofei. "Oh no, I'm afraid there are a few peerless monsters this time. Ling, take special care of them and see how amazing their potential is." Ren Wushuang laughed. "Okay." Feng Ling Er secretly laughed, and the pressure that enveloped the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei suddenly doubled. The white-eyed wolf stopped and scanned the pressure in the sky. Lu Xiaofei was also extremely stunned, and then swept a glance at the others. It seemed that there was no change in the pressure of these people. Immediately, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly, and he sent a sound transmission, "Uncle Wolf, we seem to have been specially taken care of by Aunt Ling." The pressure they were now enduring had already reached the level of a war saint. Special care, the white-eyed wolf raised its head and glanced at Feng Ling Er, a trace of ridicule in its eyes, and then continued to run up. "Wait for me." Lu Xiaofei hurriedly followed. Although the pressure had increased to the level of a war saint, for him who had opened the door of potential, it was unable to stop him from moving forward. This really comes true. We're not even as good as a dog. Looking at the white-eyed wolf running up the stone stairs, thousands of people's hearts were filled with bitterness. "Ling, that big dog glanced at you just now. It seems to be provoking you." Ren Wushuang chuckled. "Little bastard." Feng Ling Er's face darkened, and the pressure increased once again. "War King." Immediately, Lu Xiaofei's footsteps paused, as if his body was frozen. He was extremely dissatisfied in his heart, and muttered, "Aunt Ling, is too much." But the white-eyed wolf still didn't feel anything. "Brat, you can't take it anymore." The white-eyed wolf stopped and sat on the stone stairs. He crossed his legs and looked down at Lu Xiaofei, who was below him, and said proudly, "Aren't you just relying on your strong cultivation? What are you being arrogant for?" Lu Xiaofei muttered, "I'll go." This posture of his, Ling, look, this is also arrogant. Ren Wushuang looked at the white-eyed wolf. Feng Ling Er's expression became even uglier. Not only was he sitting there like a human being, he was even crossing his legs. Wasn't this blatantly mocking her? The pressure suddenly soared to the war god level. What a powerful aura, the white-eyed wolf immediately howled. Ah! Lu Xiaofei was stunned. The thousands of people below also looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. What was going on? Didn't it run faster than a rabbit just now? Why did it howl all of a sudden? This is the pressure of a war god level, little girl, you're going too far. The white-eyed wolf stared at Feng Ling Er angrily. Pressure of a war god level? Everyone was stunned. Could it be that this black dog was specially taken care of by the palace master? At that moment, their faces revealed gloating expressions. Let's see if you can still be arrogant. Wait. Do you guys know why it's called the palace master? It seems to be calling a little girl. It seems to be a little girl. This damn dog, there must be a limit to arrogance. Everyone immediately glared at the white-eyed wolf. It actually dared to offend their goddess. It was simply unforgivable. The veins on Feng Ling Er's forehead were also popping out. It actually dared to call her a little girl. Interesting. Ren Wuxuang and Luo Qingzhu looked at each other and couldn't help but want to laugh. That's not right. But suddenly, Luo Qingzhu stared at the white-eyed wolf in shock. What's wrong? Ren Wuxuang and Feng Ling Er were shocked and turned to look at her suspiciously. If it was really imprisoned by the pressure, how could it be shouting there? Luo Qingzhu said in a low voice. That's right. The two of them also suddenly realized and lowered their heads to look at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Hee, you guys found out so quickly. So boring. I still want to play a little longer. The white-eyed wolf grinned at the three girls and slowly got up. He looked at Lu Xiaofei and said, Kid, take your time. I'll go first. Don't, take me with you. Lu Xiaofei hurriedly said. You have to walk your own path. Don't count on others. After the white-eyed wolf finished speaking, he stood up and put his paws behind his back. Like an old man who had experienced the vicissitudes of life, he walked up step by step. He shook his head and sighed deeply, saying, Invincible is really too lonely. Don't stop me. I'm going to beat it up. This damn dog is too pretentious. I've never seen a person who pretends to be so pretentious. No, it's a dog. The thousands of people below all gritted their teeth and stared at the white-eyed wolf's back. If it was a person, they could accept it. But a dog, damn it, wasn't it just teasing them? Thinking about it, they, the geniuses of the sanctuary, were really worse than dogs. Chapter 2779. But at the same time, Feng Ling Er and the other two looked at the white-eyed wolf with grave expressions. Because of the difference in strength, the problem they saw was different. The thousands of disciples saw the white-eyed wolf acting cool. But what they saw was the white-eyed wolf's strength. Feng Ling Er was no longer holding back. Her aura was enough to imprison anyone below the level of a combat god. But this black dog acted as if nothing had happened. What did this mean? It meant that, its strength was above Feng Ling Er's. This was not good news for Feng Ling Er and the other two. As one of the most powerful existences in Great Qin, they knew all the powerful people in Great Qin like the back of their hands. But in their memories, there was no information related to this black dog. In other words, this large black dog was a terrifying existence that had suddenly jumped out of nowhere. Whoosh! Within a few breaths, the black wolf climbed up the stone stairs and then turned to look down at the mountains and rivers below. It sighed faintly. It's lonely at the top. I can't take it anymore. I want to go up and beat him up. Scoundrel! Just you wait. The thousands of people below glared angrily and rushed up with all their might. But very soon, they were lying on the stone stairs, panting and sweating profusely. Auntie Ling, don't be like this. Lu Xiaofei felt bitter in his heart. Although the aura that enveloped him was only at the level of a combat god, it was difficult for him to move. Below, Qin Feiyang was still standing on the first step, looking up at the white-eyed wolf with a helpless expression. He could not be blamed. That arrogant look was really asking for a beating. "Uncle, why don't I not go up?" Lu Xiaojia's voice suddenly rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned to look at Lu Xiaojia and saw her standing in front of the stone stairs, looking hesitant. Wait a minute. Why is there another combat king? Suddenly, Feng Ling Air and the other two also noticed Lu Xiaojia and were shocked. Lu Xiaojia's cultivation was at the combat king level. There was no point in hiding it. Therefore, she did not hide it from the start. However, she had been silent the whole time, so no one noticed. Qin Feiyang encouraged, "This is actually just the pressure of the War Master level, you can give it a try." "But I only have the cultivation of the War King," Lu Xiaojia said. Battle King, Battle Emperor, Battle Master, from her point of view, the gap between them was huge. "Let's try it." Qin Feiyang smiled. "All right." Lu Xiaojia nodded. She didn't want to disappoint her uncle, so she walked up the stone stairs resolutely. She is courting death. Feng Ling Air's expression suddenly changed. How dare a battle king come here? However, in the next moment, a scene that left her dumbstruck appeared. Lu Xiaojia actually stepped onto the second step. Although it was very difficult and strenuous, she could be considered to have succeeded. No way. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wushuang were also shocked. How could a mere battle king take such a step? Not bad. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xiaojia, and nodded with a smile. Even though he had opened the gate of potential, his cultivation was still too weak. If this pressure was only at the level of a war emperor, then it would definitely not be difficult for Lu Xiaojia. However, facing the pressure of a war master level, it was still too difficult for this little girl. "Uncle," Lu Xiaojia's face was also filled with excitement. To her, stepping onto the second step did not give her any sense of accomplishment. The most important thing was to receive her uncle's praise. After all, she was only a teenager and was still a little girl. And Qin Feiyang, not only was he her elder, he was also her idol. Children all had one thing in common, and that was to obtain the praise and recognition of their elders. "All right. Uncle will bring you up." Qin Feiyang grabbed Lu Xiaojia's hand, and that oppressive pressure that was almost suffocating her instantly disappeared. "Uncle is really amazing," Lu Xiaojia whispered. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "All right." Lu Xiaojia nodded and obediently followed Qin Feiyang, walking up step by step. What? Feng Ling Air and the other two were once again tongue-tied. What was going on? "Ling, something's wrong." Luo Qingzhu stared at Qin Feiyang and sent a sound transmission. "Yes." Feng Ling Air nodded. The little girl had a suffocating look before, but when the young man grabbed her hand, she immediately returned to her normal state. What did this mean? It meant that the young man was able to disperse her pressure. This kind of method could only be done by someone who was at least in the same realm as her. Another terrifying rancor that he had never seen before. Damn, it can't be. What's going on? When Qin Feiyang brought Lu Xiaojia up, the people they met all stared at them with their mouths agape. This indifferent expression, this light footsteps, it didn't seem like he was trapped in a dignified state at all. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang felt that the pressure that enveloped him had suddenly soared to the level of a war god. This woman, Qin Feiyang, shook his head. However, he wasn't as bored as the white-eyed wolf. Without any pause, he walked up with ease. Terrifying, Ren Wushuang whispered. Luo Qingzhu and Feng Ling Er also had grave expressions on their faces. Suddenly, the three of them looked at each other and took a step forward in unison. They landed on the stone stairs above and looked at Qin Feiyang warily, and asked in a deep voice, "Who are you?" Thousands of disciples were bewildered. Qin Feiyang also stopped in his tracks, raised his head to look at the three girls, and laughed. "Since I have already stepped on the stone stairs, then let me finish. You are definitely not a disciple of the sanctum. Who exactly are you?" Feng Ling Er shouted, divine power surging out. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, and a wave of pressure also emerged, enveloping the three of them. At that moment, Feng Ling Er and the other two were imprisoned there, unable to move at all. They were greatly shocked. This oppressive might was actually countless times stronger than their oppressive might. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and continued to walk up with Lu Xiaojia. When he passed by Feng Ling Er and the other two, he didn't stop. Who the hell is he? Even the three Lord Palace Masters can't escape from the confinement of his pressure. Needless to say, the thousands of disciples were all staring angrily. "Uncle, take me with you." Seeing that Qin Feiyang and Lu Xiaojia had arrived, Lu Xiaofei hurriedly called for help. Who was the one who said that he could go up? Qin Feiyang smiled mockingly and walked up without looking back. Lu Xiaojia turned her head and smiled at Lu Xiaofei. She even made a face at him. Lu Xiaofei's heart was bitter. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have been so arrogant. After a short while, Qin Feiyang finally reached the top of the mountain. "You're too slow." White-eyed Wolf picked his nose. "You're not in a hurry to be reincarnated. Why are you running so fast?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him, let go of Lu Xiaojia, and glanced around the inner hall. The inner hall seemed to be bigger than before. But it was not unfamiliar. Scenes of the past involuntarily emerged in his mind. He had experienced too much here. It could also be said that this was the place where he really rose to prominence. He still remembered that year when he fought fiercely with Lu Xingchen here. And Dong Qing. Shen Mei, these people who were almost forgotten by him involuntarily emerged in his mind. Reminded of the past? White-eyed Wolf glanced at Qin Feiyang. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. It's a pity that bastard Mu Tianyang won't come out, otherwise he will definitely be like you. No. He will probably fight with you. That's because he and Shen Mei got to know each other here. Do you still remember that night when Lu Xingchen knelt in front of Shen Mei? No, it's Mu Tianyang. White-eyed Wolf joked. Of course I remember. It's really hard for this guy to kneel in front of a woman. But this also proves that he really likes Shen Mei. Qin Feiyang nodded. White-eyed Wolf said, so, he will seek revenge on you sooner or later. Let's talk about the future later. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, turned around, and walked to the stone stairs. Standing on the top step, he withdrew his pressure. Feng Ling Er and the other two finally regained their freedom. They immediately turned to Qin Feiyang and bowed. Greetings, Senior. Even the three palace masters have to respectfully address him as Senior. How terrifying is this person's strength? The thousands of disciples were extremely shocked. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled. His gaze went past the three of them and looked at the several thousand disciples. He said, tell me, why do you all want to cultivate? What do you mean? Cultivation is cultivation. Why do you ask so many questions? The thousands of disciples were stunned. Everyone has something they insist on when they cultivate. Some people cultivate to protect their family. Some people cultivate for personal desires, such as power and status. There are also some people who cultivate for the sake of revenge. These people are more extreme. For example, I used to cultivate hard to become stronger so that I can seek revenge on my enemies and seek justice. In the end, when I really reached this step, I realized that everything was not as I thought. Later, I cultivated hard to protect my family and the common people. And in the end, I did it. Then what about you? What are you holding on to? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Glory, status, power, these are what everyone wants. One of the young men said. That's right. Everyone wants these things, but no matter what, you have to adhere to one principle. No matter what your final achievements are, don't do things that offend the heavens and go against your conscience. Protect justice, defend the common people, this is the real cultivation. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. What you've said is too great. We are just ordinary people. Someone said. Ordinary people. It seems that you have a misunderstanding about the words ordinary people. Whether it's a helpless mortal or a powerful powerhouse, they are all ordinary people. Even if he is the ruler of this world, he is just an ordinary person. This kind of thing has no boundaries. It depends on what you think. What do you think? Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Everyone was silent and lowered their heads to ponder these words. Come up. The path of cultivation is like this. It is full of difficulties. If you want to stand higher and go further, then you have to face it bravely and move forward step by step. Otherwise, there will be a day when you will be eliminated by this world. In fact, it's just a sentence. Fighting spirit and courage can never be extinguished. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Chapter 2780. Our fighting spirit and courage can never be extinguished, thousands of disciples murmured. Something in their hearts seemed to have been ignited. Their blood couldn't help but boil. That's right. No matter what, they couldn't lose the courage to face difficulties and setbacks. No matter what, they couldn't lose the fighting spirit to keep moving forward. This was the Tao of cultivation. Thank you for your teachings, Senior. May I know Senior's name? If possible, I hope Senior can tell me. I'll remember Senior's teachings for the rest of my life. One of the young men in white bowed to Qin Feiyang. What's your name? Qin Feiyang murmured. If he revealed his identity, it should be a great incentive for these young people. The future pillar of the great Qin Empire was this young man in front of him. My name, Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, took out a facial restoration pill, threw it into his mouth, and said, My name is Qin Feiyang. As he finished speaking, he returned to his original appearance and voice. Boom! At that moment, everyone's mind was filled with a rumbling sound. Qin Feiyang. Who didn't know the guardian of the great Qin Empire? Not only was he a terrifying expert, but he was also a great person that everyone respected. The person in front of them was actually the guardian of the great Qin Empire. This is impossible. I must be dreaming. Everyone roared in their hearts. Looking at Qin Feiyang's face, their faces were full of disbelief. At the same time, Feng Ling Er, Luo Qingzhu, and Ren Wushuang's delicate bodies trembled violently as they stared blankly at Qin Feiyang. This face, and this voice, wasn't this the man they had been thinking about day and night? It was him. He was back. I don't believe it. Didn't the rumor say that the guardian has left this continent? It's impossible for him to appear here. Someone shook his head. I don't want to believe it either. But look, he looks exactly the same as that statue. A young woman pointed to the statue at the top of the mountain. Everyone looked at the statue and compared it, it was exactly the same. It's him. He really is our guardian. We actually saw the guardian in person, the person who taught us earlier was actually the guardian god, oh my god. You must be dreaming. The guardian god is actually teaching us cultivation. For hundreds of years, no one has ever enjoyed such treatment. We are so lucky. The thousands of disciples were extremely excited. This was especially true for the young talents from the other 8 states. The trip to the Saint Palace of the spiritual state was worth it. Disciple greets Lord Protector. The young man in white who had asked about Qin Feiyang's name was also very excited. When he came back to his senses, he immediately knelt on the stone steps and respectfully called out, "Greetings, guardian deity." The other disciples regained their senses and also knelt down to worship. In the past, they had worshipped statues. Now, they were worshipping real people. The young people in front of him had basically grown up listening to the rumors about Qin Feiyang. One could imagine. Now that he had seen the true body of this legendary figure, he was extremely excited. Get up. Also, remember one thing. Don't lose your courage. In your life, don't kneel to the heavens or the earth. Only kneel to your loved ones. Qin Feiyang said. Disciple will remember Lord Protector's teachings. The thousands of disciples roared in unison. Then come up. I believe you can do it. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yes. Everyone, this is Lord Protector's expectation of us. We can't lose face for Lord Protector. Everyone, charge up. Don't fall behind. The thousands of disciples' fighting spirit and courage were stimulated as they madly rushed to the top of the mountain. Some people had already given up in despair. But at this moment, they gritted their teeth and stubbornly climbed up the stone steps. Some people even crawled up. At this moment, no matter how embarrassed they were, it didn't matter to them as long as they could reach the top of the mountain. Even Lu Xiaofei became high-spirited and struggled to take a step forward. Feng Ling and the other two finally came back to their senses. They lowered their heads and glanced at the disciples before quickly rushing to the top of the mountain. Sister, Qingzhu, Ling, Qin Feiyang looked at them one by one, and a smile appeared on his face. He said, "Long time no see." "It's really you." Ren Wushuang murmured. "Yes. It's me." Qin Feiyang nodded. "You bastard, you came to tease us as soon as you came back." Feng Ling rushed up, grabbed Qin Feiyang's ear, and shouted, "Apologize, admit your mistake." "Again? Do you think we're still children?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. "What? Do you think I don't dare to teach you a lesson now?" Feng Ling gritted her teeth. No. It's my fault, my fault." "No. It's not my fault. It's the white-eyed wolf. It's all his bad ideas." Qin Feiyang cried. "It can't be." When the disciples below heard the commotion, they looked up at the mountain peak and were immediately stunned. The temple master was grabbing the guardian god's ear. And the guardian deity had a helpless look on his face. Their relationship was indeed not ordinary. No. They must reach the mountain peak and become an inner hall disciple. Thousands of people worked harder. For glory, for the future, for the future. Even if blood spilled on the stone stairs, it did not matter. At the mountain peak. The white-eyed wolf, Feng Ling and the other two were stunned. They frowned and said, "Where's the white-eyed wolf? What a disloyal friend. Run away." The white-eyed wolf had not returned to its original form. Seeing that it was betrayed by Qin Feiyang, it cursed and immediately sneaked away. "Stop!" Feng Linger's shout rang out. The white-eyed wolf froze, turned to Feng Ling and asked in confusion, "Little girl, who are you talking to? What do you think?" Feng Ling let go of Qin Feiyang's slap, rubbed her hands, and walked toward the white-eyed wolf. "What are you doing?" "I'm not the white-eyed wolf." The white-eyed wolf said hurriedly. "Brother?" Feng Ling was stunned, and joked, "Only that bastard white-eyed wolf would call me brother." "That damn catchphrase," the white-eyed wolf cursed, and suddenly disappeared without a trace. "You're still running?" Feng Ling shouted angrily. Luo Qingzhu pulled Feng Ling and said with a smile, "All right, there are so many disciples below. It'll be embarrassing if they see you. Feng Ling Er's expression froze. She was so happy that she forgot about the disciples. Ahem. Feng Ling Er coughed, tidied up her appearance, and then glared at Qin Feiyang, and whispered, "I'll deal with you later." Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. "Feiyang, when did you come back? How did you know we were in the inner hall?" Ren Wuxuang asked. "I've only been back for a few days." Qin Feiyang smiled and nodded to Lu Xiaojia. Lu Xiaojia also took a facial restoration pill, and quickly recovered her original appearance. "So it's you." The three women looked at Lu Xiaojia, shook their heads and smiled. "Hee hee." Lu Xiaojia smiled mischievously, ran to Ren Wuxuang, and hugged Ren Wuxuang's arm, and said with a smile, "Auntie, it was indeed Uncle Wolf's bad idea." "It has nothing to do with Uncle." "Uncle Wolf?" The three women's mouth twitched, and looked at Lu Xiaojia. "It must be the white-eyed wolf who forced you to call him that." "It's not like that. Uncle Wolf and Uncle Wolf are as close as brothers, so it's only right that we call him Uncle Wolf," Lu Xiaojia said. "What a sensible girl." Ren Wuxuang rubbed Lu Xiaojia's head, and looked down at Lu Xiaofei, and said, "Then he's your brother." "N." Lu Xiaojia nodded, and looked at Feng Ling Er, and said, "Auntie Ling, let brother come up." "Come up." Feng Ling Er looked at Lu Xiaofei, and snorted, "You dare to challenge my dignity with the white-eyed wolf, then you should be prepared to suffer." Lu Xiaojia heard this, and looked at Lu Xiaofei with a helpless expression, and then looked at Lu Xiaofei sympathetically. Luo Qingzhu looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, "Feiyang, do Auntie and Uncle know that you're back?" "Of course they know. I just came out of the Imperial Palace this morning." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's good. Then you should have met my father and the others in the Butterfly Valley," Luo Qingzhu said with a smile. "N. I also freeloaded breakfast," Qin Feiyang said. "Freeloaded breakfast?" Luo Qingzhu was slightly stunned, and then shook her head and said with a smile, "It's not like you don't know how good my mother is to you. As long as you're willing, she can make breakfast for you every day. To be honest, even I, her biological daughter, am not as good as you." Qin Feiyang laughed, looked at the three of them, and said, "Seeing that you're all doing well, I'm relieved." "What do you mean? Are you leaving now?" The three women were stunned, and quickly asked. "Not at all. I'm just feeling emotional. When I was in the ancient realm, I was always worried about everyone. And everything I saw when I came back this time was better than I imagined, so I'm happy," Qin Feiyang said. "You scared me to death, I thought you were leaving immediately." Feng Ling Er breathed a sigh of relief. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wuxuang also breathed a sigh of relief. It was not easy for them to come back. If they left now, they would not even have a chance to reunite. How regretful would that be? "I'm so tired. Aunt Ling, I really hate you to death." Lu Xiaofei finally climbed up. His body was covered in blood, and his face was pale. He lay sprawled on the ground, looking bitterly at Feng Ling Er, and said weakly, "You asked for it. But you're not bad, kid. You actually climbed up. It seems that the gate of potential was not opened for you in vain." Feng Ling Er took out a healing pill, squatted beside Lu Xiaofei, and said, "Open your mouth." Although her mouth was fierce, her eyes were full of care and love. "How could a real man like me want food given to me by you?" Lu Xiaofei snorted coldly. "Oh, you're still enthusiastic, aren't you?" Feng Ling Er looked at him unkindly. "No, no. How can the medicinal pills given by Auntie be called food given out of charity?" "Thank you, Aunt." Lu Xiaofei quickly changed his face and smiled flatteringly. "Stinking brat." Feng Ling Er scolded with a smile, and put the pill into Lu Xiaofei's mouth. Then, Foam Ling Er stood up and looked at the thousands of disciples on the stone stairs. Each and every one of them was trying their best to climb up. Even though their bodies were covered in blood, none of them gave up. Looking at this scene, Foam Ling Er could not help but frown. Chapter 2781. What are you doing? They are working so hard. As the lord of the inner palace, you should feel gratified. Qin Feiyang smiled. You haven't been back for hundreds of years. You don't know the current situation of the 9 states. Foam Ling Er glanced at Qin Feiyang, shook her head, and sighed. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was stunned. We are doing this to prevent them from entering the inner palace. Foam Ling Er said. Why? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Everyone knew that the more talents, the better. The strength of a force was closely related to the talents. Why did Foam Ling Er dislike it? You should already know that many of them are from the other 8 states. Foam Ling Er said. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. If you were the lord of the other 8 states or the lord of the sacred palace, and you saw all the talents in the state come to the sacred palace of the spiritual state, what would you do? Foam Ling Er asked. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Almost all the young people have come to our spiritual state. Now, the saint palaces in the other 8 states are in a state of shortage. The lord of the 8 states and even the lord of the spiritual state have come to us more than once. That's why we came up with this plan. We want these people to retreat and return to their respective state capitals. Foam Ling Er said. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and smiled bitterly. Then it seems that I helped them out of kindness. You just realized. Now they are definitely unwilling to return to their state capitals. Foam Ling Er rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. But, you are not always a hindrance. At least, you inspired their fighting spirit and courage. If they can really climb up, their future achievements will definitely be great. Foam Ling Er said with a smile. Thank you for your praise, Lord Temple Master. Qin Feiyang said. The corner of Foam Ling Er's mouth twitched. She raised her fist and said fiercely, Are you making fun of me? No. Look at how much these disciples worship you 3 goddesses. Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 women and laughed. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wushuang also rolled their eyes. Time slowly passed. The result was far beyond the expectations of Qin Feiyang and the others. More than 3,000 disciples had all reached the top. Not a single one had fallen behind. Of course. It was inevitable that everyone would support each other and work together. For example, if someone couldn't hold on any longer, the others would rush over to help. That was to say. Not only did Qin Feiyang stimulate their fighting spirit, he also made them united as one. This was indeed a good thing. Lord Guardian, how are we doing? The group of people disregarded their exhaustion and looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly. Not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded. Thank you for your praise, Lord Guardian. We will continue to work hard and live up to your expectations. The group of people was extremely excited. To be able to receive the teachings and praise of the Lord Guardian was undoubtedly a matter of glory to their ancestors. All right. Quickly go and report. Foam Ling Er said. Yes. More than 1,000 disciples nodded. Even if they were physically and mentally exhausted and covered in blood, each of them held their heads high and flew toward a hall. Where did this damn dog come from? Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. A white-clothed woman rushed out of a large hall. In front of her, a big black dog was desperately fleeing. What did this white-eyed wolf do again? Foam Ling Er looked over and her face suddenly darkened. She rushed over like lightning, looked at the woman in white, and asked, What's going on? The woman in white angrily pointed at the white-eyed wolf and said, this damn dog sneaked into our resource hall's warehouse. Ah! Feng Ling Er was stunned. As expected, this woman did not change. She waved her hand and said, "All right, you go and do your thing. I'll handle it." "Okay." The woman in white nodded. After the woman in white left, Feng Ling Er turned to look at the white-eyed wolf. "What do you want?" "Let me tell you, I'm not afraid of you. I just don't want to argue with a woman." The white-eyed wolf picked his nose and said. Feng Ling Er was slightly stunned. She rubbed her hands and walked toward the white-eyed wolf and said, "Are you looking down on us women?" Whoosh! Seeing that the situation was not good, the white-eyed wolf rushed behind Qin Feiyang and urged, "Little Qin Zi, quickly, use your man's masculinity and make her kneel. Get lost." Qin Feiyang's veins were bulging. Would it be boring if he did not cause trouble for a day? "You want me to kneel? Bah! Let's see how I make you kneel today." Feng Ling Er rushed over, grabbed the white-eyed wolf's ear, and directly gave him a fat beating. Qin Feiyang, Luo Qingzhu, and Ren Wushuang all looked at this scene with a gloating face. However, a man's masculinity, the two women glanced at Qin Feiyang and Feng Ling Er. What she said was too ambiguous. "Bitch, stop it. Do you believe that I won't be angry with you?" The white-eyed wolf roared. "Why don't you show me?" Feng Ling Er was slightly stunned. She desperately grabbed the white-eyed wolf's ear and joked. "Pain, pain, pain." The white-eyed wolf wailed. "You still know pain?" Feng Ling Er glared at it and finally released her claws. She said, "Tell me honestly. Why did you go to the warehouse of the resource hall?" "I just went to take a look. After all these years, how many treasures were there in the resource hall?" The white-eyed wolf said. "That's it?" Feng Ling Er frowned. "What else? Do you think I want to ransack the resource hall? It's not that I look down on your resource hall. With my current strength, even if you give me the entire resource hall, I won't take a liking to it." The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. "You just went out to make a living for a few years. Look at you being so smug." Feng Ling Er rolled her eyes. "You have long hair but short knowledge." The white-eyed wolf despised her. Feng Ling Er's eyes suddenly widened again. Cough, cough. The white-eyed wolf coughed dryly and looked at Qin Feiyang. He urged, "Little Qin Zi, didn't you say you were going to see your father-in-law? You've been delayed for so long. It's time to go." "Father-in-law?" Feng Ling Er and the other two girls were slightly stunned. They looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "You're already married to the mermaid princess." The white-eyed wolf looked at the three of them playfully and said, "Look at your reactions. Are you very disappointed and sad? Get lost." The three girls stared at the white-eyed wolf at the same time. Hee hee. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and looked at them patiently. Qin Feiyang also shook his head helplessly. As long as the white-eyed wolf was around, there would be no peace anywhere. "We're not married yet." Qin Feiyang looked at the three girls and said with a smile. "Not yet? Then you're a little slow. Look at Lu Zheng and Lu Hong. Their children are already so big." Luo Qingzhu smiled faintly. "What about you guys? You guys haven't done anything at all." Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them and said. Ren Wushuang shook her head and said, "No one wants us three old ladies." "Ah." Qin Feiyang looked at Ren Wushuang in astonishment. His sister had learned to joke. How could no one want the three dignified goddesses? He had set his sights too high. "Okay, you guys go ahead. I'll go to the Sea of Despair first. We'll meet at Butterfly Valley tonight." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Okay." The three girls nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and swept up the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei. He entered the sea of despair without looking back. Ren Wuxuang shook her head and said with a smile, I really didn't expect them to come back. N. Feng Ling Air also nodded with a smile. She turned to look at Luo Qingzhu and said with a smile, why do I feel that you didn't say much? Say what? Luo Qingzhu was stunned. Didn't you often talk about this when Qin Feiyang didn't come back? Feng Ling Air joked. Did I? Nonsense. Luo Qingzhu was helpless. Sister, don't hide feelings in your heart. You have to boldly say it. Feng Ling Air said with a smile. Luo Qingzhu blushed and said, it's not like you don't know that I've already let it go. If you have to say that, then I can't help it. In short, if you like someone, then work hard to pursue him. Don't wait until the day you die to regret. Feng Ling Air said. The more you say, the more ridiculous it is. Luo Qingzhu shook her head and looked in the direction of the Sea of Despair. She smiled and said, I've really let it go. I also sincerely wish that he and the mermaid princess can always be happy. Feng Ling Air and Ren Wuxuang looked at each other and couldn't help but shake their heads. The Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyang walked on the surface of the sea, glancing around and recalling the past. White-Eyed Wolf looked at Lu Xiaofei and his sister and asked, have you two been here before? Yes. Lu Xiaofei nodded. Not bad. We've been here before. White-Eyed Wolf was surprised. What's so surprising about that? Grandpa Mermaid Emperor also often visits our Lu family. Lu Xiaofei said. Qin Feiyang suddenly asked, what about the other mermaids? Do they often walk around a spiritual state? No. I heard from father and mother that since the end of the war, the mermaid clan has never left the Sea of Despair. Lu Xiaofei shook his head. Actually, they don't have to do this because the Great Qin doesn't belong to the Qin clan alone. It belongs to all the living beings on this continent. The mermaid clan can come out and walk around more often to get in touch with humans. Qin Feiyang said. Although that's what you think, can you guarantee that others also think the same? The mermaid clan is very special. It's precisely because of this uniqueness that if they frequently appear in human life, it's hard to guarantee that some people with bad intentions have ulterior motives. Therefore, Grandpa Mermaid Emperor doesn't let everyone leave the Sea of Despair to protect the mermaid clan. Lu Xiaofei said. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Xiaofei rolled his eyes and chuckled, however, there's a way to cure it. What way? Qin Feiyang looked at him curiously. Lu Xiaofei said, this way lies with you, uncle. Me? Qin Feiyang froze for a moment and asked, you mean, you want me to announce it to the world? No, 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 you will leave sooner or later. Announcing to the world can only treat the symptoms, not the root cause. The only way to truly solve this problem is to get married. As long as you and Aunt get married, then Aunt will be half the master of the Great Qin. Then, naturally, no one will dare to have ulterior motives against the mermaid clan. Lu Xiaofei laughed. You brat. Qin Feiyang knocked Lu Xiaofei's head and scolded with a smile. Lu Xiaofei rubbed his forehead and chuckled. Chapter 2782. Don't say that. This boy's idea is really good. Why don't you two take advantage of this time to settle this matter? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled sinisterly. Don't make a fuss. I haven't settled the score with you just now in the inner hall. Qin Feiyang stared at him angrily. The white-eyed wolf said suspiciously, did I say anything wrong in the inner hall? Still playing dumb? Now my relationship with them is quite good. Why do you have to expose it? Are you unhappy if you don't cause me some trouble every day? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Just kidding. Everyone knows what you're thinking in your heart. You won't change your mind just because of a single sentence from me. The white-eyed wolf said. In your eyes, it's just a trivial matter, but in my eyes, it's a potential trouble. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. It's my fault, the white-eyed wolf shook his head. This bastard. Other men can't wait to hug her left and right, but he clearly has a chance, but he desperately pushes it away. Qin Feiyang shook his head and waved his hand. The mermaid princess appeared beside him. Lu Xiaofei and his sister immediately looked at the mermaid princess and couldn't help but exclaim. She's so beautiful. Hello, you two. The mermaid princess looked at the brother and sister. You are? The brother and sister asked. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips and said, she's your aunt. What? You're our aunt? The brother and sister looked at the mermaid princess in surprise. It turned out that their aunt was so beautiful. No wonder their uncle only liked her. Lu Xiaojia suddenly turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, Uncle, didn't you say that only you and Uncle Wolf came back? Well, why do children have so many questions? Qin Feiyang said. Lu Xiaojia pouted, feeling wronged. It was clearly her uncle who was lying, okay? And now, he was scolding her. Auntie, where is your tail? Lu Xiaofei actually said that. The mermaid princess paused for a moment before smiling. Of course I put it away. Can I have a look? Lu Xiaofei said. What's wrong with you? You're an adult, don't you know how to be polite? Qin Feiyang glared at Lu Xiaofei angrily. He looked at the mermaid princess and said, don't mind these two little guys. We're already home. Do you want to go back and have a look? The mermaid princess scanned the Sea of Despair and finally looked at the bottom of the sea. She smiled and said, since we're out, let's go home and take a look. Let's go then. Qin Feiyang smiled and held the mermaid princess's hand as they plunged into the sea below. Auntie's charm is really great. The way you look at uncle is like looking at your precious baby. Lu Xiaofei whispered to Lu Xiaojia, who was beside him, as he looked at their backs. Lu Xiaojia turned a deaf ear to him. Her eyes were full of stars as she said, they're so compatible. Lu Xiaofei was stunned. He shook his head and patted Lu Xiaojia's shoulder. Let's go. Okay. Lu Xiaojia came back to her senses and quickly followed. It's so cold. As soon as she entered the sea, she couldn't help but shiver. After all, she was only a war king and couldn't withstand the cold of the Sea of Despair. With your cultivation, you must have the cold avoidance pearl to enter the Sea of Despair. The white-eyed wolf waved his claws, and a wave of divine power appeared and enveloped Lu Xiaojia. Thank you, Uncle Wolf. Lu Xiaojia giggled. Little girl. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. At the bottom of the sea. A huge city sat at the bottom of the sea. Sea beasts of all shapes and sizes, as well as colorful corals, made the city seem even more magnificent and magnificent. Look, is that the princess? I think there's also Qin Feiyang. Lu Zheng and Lu Hong, those two children, are also here. And that wolf king. It's really them. The sea beasts in the sea quickly discovered Qin Feiyang and the others and immediately swarmed forward. Princess, we're not dreaming, are we? Why did you suddenly come back? All of them looked extremely excited. As the princess of the mermaid clan, the sea beasts of the Sea of Despair were naturally very familiar with her. Moreover, the mermaid princess had a gentle personality and used to treat these sea beasts very well. Therefore, these sea beasts respected the mermaid princess very much. I came back to see you guys. Have you been well all these years? The mermaid princess smiled sweetly. Good, very good. Ever since that battle, not a single human has come to the Sea of Despair to disturb us. Furthermore, the current emperor has personally ordered that no humans are allowed to step into the Sea of Despair. All these years, we've been living more peacefully than ever. The sea beasts were chattering non-stop. That's good. Then I'll go back and see my father first. Let's talk when I'm free. The mermaid princess smiled. Okay. The sea beasts nodded and then dispersed in a hubbub, shouting, "Quickly tell everyone that the princess is back." At that moment, the news of the mermaid princess's return spread in the sea of despair. In the city. In a large hall. The mermaid emperor, the black wing king, and the white wing king were sitting together, chatting and drinking tea. The three of them were not so close in the past. The black wing king and the white wing king were eyeing the position of the mermaid emperor covetously. But now, with the support of Qin Feiyang and the entire Qin clan, the two of them naturally did not dare to have any thoughts of causing trouble. Putting aside Qin Feiyang and the entire Qin clan, just the strength of the mermaid princess was enough to crush all their ambitions. So now, they were all playing their part. Whoosh! Suddenly, 4 people and 1 wolf silently appeared at the entrance of the hall. Who is it? The 2 mermaids guarding outside were shocked. But when they saw the person's face clearly, the 2 of them were stunned. The princess, Qin Feiyang, what's going on? The mermaid emperor's voice came from the hall. But the 2 mermaids did not seem to have heard it and stared at the mermaid princess and Qin Feiyang. Were they dreaming? The 2 of them rubbed their eyes and looked again. It was the real person. Greetings, princess. Greetings, your highness. The 2 of them immediately went down on one knee and bowed to Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. Princess. Your highness. The mermaid emperor and the other 2 in the hall heard and quickly turned their heads. Daughter? Feiyang? The mermaid emperor suddenly stood up, his eyes filled with disbelief. The black wing king and the white wing king were the same. They stared at Qin Feiyang and the girl with their big eyes. Get up. The mermaid princess looked at the 2 mermaids kneeling on the ground at the door. Yes. The 2 of them got up, the excitement in their eyes could not be described with words. Your daughter greets father and uncles. The mermaid princess walked into the hall and bowed before the mermaid emperor and the other 2. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and the Lu siblings also walked slowly into the hall. Daughter. The mermaid emperor came back to his senses and immediately went forward to support the mermaid princess. He asked, Is it really you? Father, are you not dreaming? It's me. The mermaid princess nodded and smiled. The mermaid emperor still had not recovered. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf again. Uncle. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. You, the mermaid emperor looked back and forth between the 2 of them and the wolf. The black wing king smiled. Old man, don't be so agitated. Be careful of your breath. The mermaid emperor turned to look at the black wing king. Are you sure you're not dreaming? Isn't everyone standing in front of you? The black wing king was speechless. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and bowed. Greetings, your highness. We're family. There's no need to be so polite. Qin Feiyang smiled. Family, the black wing king murmured. He then looked at the white wing king. For a moment, the 2 of them were filled with emotions. Thinking back, they hated Qin Feiyang so much. Now. But Qin Feiyang treated them as his own family, so he felt guilty in his heart. It's not a dream, the mermaid emperor whispered. Only then did he recover. He hugged the mermaid princess and said, Daughter, you're finally back. Father missed you so much. Father, when the mermaid princess heard this, her heart ached. It's all your daughter's fault for being unfilial and making you worry. No. The mermaid emperor shook his head and let go of the mermaid princess. He grabbed the mermaid princess' shoulders with both hands and said, You've lost weight. You must have suffered a lot outside. Did I? The mermaid princess looked at herself and smiled. It's good to lose weight. If I'm too fat, I won't be able to hold someone's heart. Qin Feiyang touched his nose. Could they not drag him into this? When the mermaid emperor heard this, he immediately glared at Qin Feiyang and said, "Kid, tell me honestly. Did you flirt outside and make my daughter suffer?" "How would I dare?" Qin Feiyang was helpless. The mermaid princess hurriedly said, "Father, I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. Can you joke about such things?" The mermaid emperor was stunned and looked at the mermaid princess speechlessly. "Yes, yes, yes." The mermaid princess nodded. The White Wing King shook his head. "Old man, don't let them stand." "Yes, yes, yes." The mermaid emperor nodded repeatedly. He pulled the mermaid princess and said, "Daughter, come and sit." "Grandpa mermaid emperor, there's still us." Lu Xiaofei said unhappily. "Ah." The mermaid emperor was slightly stunned and smiled. "Xiaofei, Xiaojia, you're here too." "Yes. We've been standing here for a long time. You only noticed us now." Sigh. "I realize that ever since uncle came back, my sister and I have been neglected." Lu Xiaofei shook his head sadly. "Haha," the mermaid emperor laughed and said, "Sit, sit." Everyone sat around the table. The Black Wing King and the White Wing King stood. "Sit, why are you standing?" The mermaid emperor looked at the two in a daze. The two were a little hesitant. They glanced at Qin Feiyang from time to time. "We're family. What are you afraid of?" The mermaid emperor shook his head helplessly. Qin Feiyang was also very depressed. Was there a need to be so afraid of him? He was not the devil. "Yes, yes, yes." Hearing the mermaid emperor's words, the two nodded and then sat at the side. However, they still could not let go. Although Qin Feiyang did not release any aura, the two felt as if there was an invisible pressure. In fact, this pressure was due to their fear of Qin Feiyang. "How long have you been back? Now that you're back, you won't leave again, right?" After the mermaid emperor calmed down, he looked at Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess and said. Chapter 2783. The mermaid princess could not help but look at Qin Feiyang. If he knew that they would leave again, her father would definitely be sad, so she did not know how to explain it to him. "Daughter, why are you looking at him?" The mermaid emperor frowned. The Black-Winged King glanced at the mermaid emperor and said, "Look at this old man. He's so excited that he's lost his mind." "Yes. Looking at the princess's expression, I know that she will definitely leave again." The White-Winged King thought to himself. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Uncle, we're only here to visit you temporarily. We'll leave again after some time." "Leave again?" The mermaid emperor was stunned. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. "There are still many things in the ancient realm that have not been settled. I'm puzzled. What is it that needs you brats to settle? Are there no other big shots in the ancient realm?" The mermaid emperor frowned. "Father, look at what you're saying. Feiyang is no longer a brat." The mermaid princess looked at the mermaid emperor unhappily. "You haven't married him yet, and you're already speaking up for him. This daughter of yours is indeed raised by someone else." The mermaid emperor shook his head and sighed. The mermaid princess said helplessly, "Father, Feiyang is now one of the big shots in the ancient realm." "So what if he's a big shot? If you want to marry my daughter, then you have to listen to me." The mermaid emperor snorted coldly. "Ah." The mermaid princess and Qin Feiyang were stunned. Although this was a little unreasonable, they really could not find a reason to refute it. "What about the ancestors? Don't you care about the ancestors' lives?" The mermaid princess said. What? Ancestors? The mermaid emperor was surprised. The black-winged king and the white-winged king's eyes trembled slightly, then they stared at the mermaid princess. Yes. Ancestors. Whether it's the first mermaid emperor, the first black-winged king, or the white-winged king, they're all alive. The mermaid princess said. Not dead. How are they now? The mermaid emperor hurriedly asked. It's all right, but the opponents they are facing right now are very, very strong, so they need Fei Yang to assist them. The mermaid princess said. How strong? The black-winged king asked. The mermaid princess said, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that any one of them could instantly annihilate Great Qin and the entire Forgotten Continent. No way. The three of them looked at each other. This was too terrifying. It was completely beyond imagination. Of course. Fei Yang also has this ability now. Thus, he must return to the ancient realm. The mermaid princess said. What? The black-winged monarch and the white-winged monarch looked at Qin Fei Yang in shock. This kid had already become so powerful. They could destroy Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent. The mermaid emperor looked at Qin Fei Yang, took a deep breath, and asked, what about the Qin emperor? The Qin emperor is still alive. And Lu Xingyang. They are all the strongest in the ancient realm. The mermaid princess said. The mermaid emperor pondered for a moment. After a while, he looked at Qin Fei Yang and said, all right, I don't care if you go or stay. I only have one request. Please speak. Qin Fei Yang said. Get married. After you get married and give birth to a grandson for me, only then can you return to the ancient realm. The mermaid emperor said resolutely. The black-winged monarch and the white-winged monarch looked at each other and couldn't help but shake their heads. It was indeed as they had expected. However, Qin Fei Yang was in a difficult position. I say, you brat. You've known my daughter since you were young. Even if you want to experience the process of love, it should be about time, right? Or are you saying that you don't plan to marry my daughter at all? The mermaid emperor raised his eyebrows. No, no. Qin Fei Yang hurriedly waved his hand and said, heaven and earth can bear witness to my feelings for your daughter. Then why are you hesitating? Is it so difficult to get married? The mermaid emperor said angrily. Father, why are you so fierce? The mermaid princess said angrily. Shut up. The mermaid emperor glared at the mermaid princess. Then, he looked at Qin Fei Yang and said, I only have one daughter. I don't want her to waste her youth on an unpredictable man. Father, love is mutual and mutual investment. How can it be a waste? The mermaid princess was dissatisfied. I told you to shut up. Didn't you hear me? Now that your wings have hardened, you won't even listen to your father's words. The mermaid emperor said angrily. The mermaid princess lowered her head, feeling wronged. Qin Fei Yang grabbed the mermaid princess's hand and gave her a comforting look. Then, he looked at the mermaid emperor and said, I believe you know that the people I admire the most in my life are my ancestors. I know. The mermaid emperor nodded. Therefore, when I get married, I hope to receive my ancestors' blessings. I also hope that all my relatives are here. But now, you are in Great Qin, and my ancestors are in the ancient world. It is impossible to have the best of both worlds. Also, now that the situation is not settled and the dragons have not been eliminated, I really don't have the mood, let alone having a child. You have been through it. You know how it feels to have a child. With a child, there will be more worries. With worries, there will be no way to go all out. You don't know how powerful our enemies are. If we are not careful, we will be smashed to pieces. Uncle, I don't dare to take the risk. Because if we lose, not only me, but all my companions and my ancestors will only have one ending. They will die in the ancient world and won't even have the chance to return to their hometown. Qin Feiyang sighed. Yes, father. The enemies Feiyang is facing now are not comparable to the former imperial preceptor. He has to fight with them wholeheartedly and without any worries. Before he came back, Feiyang encountered a great enemy of the past and almost died. The mermaid princess said. Hearing this, the mermaid emperor looked at the two of them with an uncertain expression. Old man, they are not young anymore. They have their own considerations and plans. Don't blindly interfere. The Black-Winged Monarch shook his head. The White-Winged Monarch also looked at Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess and said with a smile, you two have to understand. Seeing Lu Zheng's children all grow up, this old man is anxious. Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess looked at each other and could not help but shake their heads and laugh. You talk too much. The Mermaid Emperor rolled his eyes at the Black-Winged Monarch and the White-Winged Monarch. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess and said, fine, fine. Do as you wish. Thank you, father. Thank you, uncle. Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess looked at each other and smiled. Then when are you leaving? The Mermaid Emperor asked. I'm not sure yet. The Mermaid Princess said. The Mermaid Emperor pondered for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang. He said, I know you are very busy, so I won't force you to stay here. But my daughter, the Mermaid Emperor then looked at the Mermaid Princess and said, you must stay here for a while and talk to father. Okay. The Mermaid Princess nodded. The Mermaid Emperor then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, but no matter how busy you are, you have to stay for a meal. That's for sure. Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile and said, give me a portion of all the delicacies you have here. I'll accompany you for a few drinks. Sure. The Mermaid Emperor laughed and looked at the Black-Winged Monarch and the White-Winged Monarch. He said, you two are not allowed to leave either. I couldn't ask for more. The two of them looked at each other and laughed. The Mermaid Emperor also laughed. He looked at the door and shouted, men. The two mermaids outside the door immediately walked in. The Mermaid Emperor said, hurry up and prepare a banquet at noon. Make it the most luxurious. I want to accompany my future son-in-law and have a few drinks. Yes. The two of them responded respectfully, turned around, and quickly ran out. Sister, we're in for a treat. Lu Xiaofei chuckled. You little brat, when have I not given you and your sister good food and drinks? The Mermaid Emperor glared at Lu Xiaofei. Lu Xiaofei said, how can that be compared to the banquet for uncle? Your uncle is an adult, and you're a kid. Of course, it can't be compared. The Mermaid Emperor pouted. I'm not a kid anymore. Lu Xiaofei was dissatisfied. Then you're a big kid. The Mermaid Emperor said. Lu Xiaofei's expression stiffened. He said angrily, Grandpa Mermaid Emperor, you're doing this on purpose. Haha, the Mermaid Emperor laughed. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and looked at the group. You guys chat. I'll go out for a walk. After saying that, he ran out like a wisp of smoke. Don't mess around again. Qin Feiyang immediately shouted. Got it. The white-eyed wolf said without turning his head. His tone was extremely impatient. Don't worry about it. Let it do whatever it wants. Anyway, it's our home. The Mermaid Emperor waved his hand. You don't know. If you don't do anything about this guy, he'll cause a lot of trouble here. Qin Feiyang said. It doesn't matter. The Mermaid Emperor waved his hand, looked at the Mermaid Princess, and asked, Daughter, did the three ancestors treat you well in the ancient realm? Of course. They like me very much. They even personally taught me cultivation and taught me the supremacy level divine arts. The Mermaid Princess nodded. supremacy-level divine arts. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He said suspiciously, "Why didn't I know about this?" "You didn't ask." "It's not just me. Sister Rushuang, old Zhao, and the others all have supremacy-level divine arts." The mermaid princess said. "All of them?" The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He said, "All of you have it, but I don't." "That's too unfair." The mermaid princess shook her head and smiled. "Do you still need them to give it to you?" "It's not a matter of giving it or not. It's a matter of attitude. Also, how can you call Qin Rushuang sister? If you call her sister, what should I call her? Wouldn't the seniority be messed up?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. "She asked me to call her that." The mermaid princess said. "Nonsense." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Wait a minute," the mermaid emperor interrupted them and said, "What's a supremacy-level divine art? Is it powerful?" "Of course." The mermaid princess nodded. "How powerful?" The black-winged king and the white-winged king were also curious. "This, how should I put it? It seems that you won't understand even if I tell you." The mermaid princess was a little troubled. "Forget it, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about something else. For example, what did you experience in the ancient realm?" The mermaid emperor waved his hand. "There's nothing to talk about my experience because it was Feiyang who protected me. Feiyang's experience is rich." The mermaid princess smiled. "Kid, you tell us." The mermaid emperor looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes full of anticipation. "Then you must sit tight. Don't be scared." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Brat, am I that weak?" The mermaid emperor stared at Qin Feiyang. "Huh," Qin Feiyang laughed, casually picked some small matters, and slowly told them. As for those soul-stirring events, he automatically ignored them. Because he did not want everyone to worry about him. Chapter 2784. However, even if it was just a small matter, it was still shocking for the mermaid emperor and the other two. After all, the environment and altitude were different. Time flew by. Noon soon arrived. At the dining table, Qin Feiyang asked Hui Yi for a few more jars of celestial immortal wine. This made Hui Yi extremely depressed. When he brought the 5-clawed golden dragon to the Heaven Immortal Tower, he also spent a lot of effort to get these jars of celestial immortal wine. Now, it all benefited Qin Feiyang. But there was no other way. If he wanted to go to the Heaven Immortal Tower again, he had to rely on Qin Feiyang's spacetime gate. So, although he was very reluctant, he still obediently gave it to Qin Feiyang. After tasting the celestial immortal wine for the first time, the mermaid emperor and the other two were full of praise. Such a divine brew was comparable to bejeweled nectar. After eating, Qin Feiyang took out the tea leaves and drank for a while. These tea leaves also amazed the mermaid emperor and the other two. They were also more and more curious about the ancient realm. What kind of place was it? Even the tea leaves and wine were so different. On the street outside. Princess. Son-in-law. Qin Feiyang walked on the street. The mermaid princess was holding his neighbor's arm with a happy smile on her face. Everywhere they went, the mermaids they met would happily greet them. Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess naturally responded with a smile. Unknowingly, a square entered their sight. There were 4 statues in the square. Each statue exuded a shocking aura. This was the forbidden land of the mermaid clan, the land of inheritance. The 4 statues were of Qin Batian, the first mermaid emperor, the first Blackwing king, and the first Whitewing king. The first mermaid emperor, the Blackwing king, and the Whitewing king all had 5 pairs of wings on their backs. They looked majestic. Qin Feiyang suddenly asked, "How many wings do they have now?" "Which one?" Qin Feiyang's sudden question made the mermaid princess somewhat unable to react. That's them. Qin Feiyang pointed at the statues of the first mermaid emperor. The mermaid princess nodded, then shook her head and said, they usually keep their wings, so I don't know. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly smiled and asked, how many wings do you have now? 9 pairs of wings. The mermaid princess said. So many. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Every time I make a breakthrough, I'll gain a bunch of wings. From the War King to the 9 Heavens realm, there are exactly 9 great realms. That's not right. You don't even know how many wings I have. It seems that you don't care about me at all. The mermaid princess pouted, feeling wronged. Ugh. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He smiled bitterly and said, you have never opened your wings before, have you? Humph. You just don't care about me. The mermaid princess snorted coldly. All right, all right. It's my fault, my fault. Qin Feiyang quickly apologized. There was no need to say anything. No matter how big the world was, his wife was the most important. The mermaid princess giggled and leaned her head on Qin Feiyang's shoulder, saying, Feiyang, I won't go to the gathering at the Butterfly Valley tonight. It's good that you don't go. If everyone knows that you came back, they will definitely force us to get married. Qin Feiyang said. Are you so afraid of getting married? The mermaid princess seemed a little disappointed. Afraid? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He turned to look at the mermaid princess's face and said helplessly, don't you know what I'm thinking? Okay, okay, okay. Whatever you say. The mermaid princess nodded. Thank you. Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully. To be honest. The mermaid princess was very tolerant of him. If it were another woman, they might have already quarreled with him. Therefore, he cherished this woman in front of him very much. No matter what, he could not let her down, let alone let her suffer any grievances. In the future, he would definitely give the mermaid princess a wedding that no woman would envy. Unknowingly, the two walked to the square. Greetings, princess. Greetings, your highness. The mermaids guarding the land of inheritance quickly bowed. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile and waved his hand, saying, leave the square first. Leave the square. The group of mermaids was stunned. What did he mean? Don't tell me you think that I'm going to do something to the land of inheritance. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Hearing this, the group of mermaids smiled embarrassedly and then ran out of the square. What a joke. Although this land of inheritance was of great significance to the mermaid clan, it was the same for Qin Feiyang. Besides, the princess was next to him. Even if Qin Feiyang had this idea, he did not have the guts. Obviously, they had already labeled Qin Feiyang as a henpecked husband. Feiyang, actually, this is not necessary. The mermaid princess looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Why is it not necessary? The Lu family and the imperial palace both have crystal veins and spirit veins. Why can't you favor one and discriminate against the other? Besides, this is my father-in-law's home. Qin Feiyang smiled. You're not serious. The mermaid princess rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang. Isn't it? You little girl, don't tell me you have other thoughts. I'm telling you, this is not allowed. You must be mine. Qin Feiyang said. Who is yours? I am me. I'm not anyone's. The mermaid princess raised her arrogant head, but her eyes were full of happiness. Qin Feiyang lovingly scratched the mermaid princess's nose and then rose into the air. The mermaid princess also rose into the air and stood next to Qin Feiyang. Look, what are the son-in-law and the princess doing? I don't know. The mermaids around all looked at Qin Feiyang and the princess curiously. Boom! Suddenly, Waves of divine power emerged from Qin Feiyang's body and flooded into the ground. Boom! The next moment, as Qin Feiyang waved his hand, the entire land of inheritance was directly uprooted from the ground. The surrounding mermaids' faces changed. Those who did not know the truth really thought that Qin Feiyang was going to destroy the land of inheritance. The Mermaid Emperor, Black-Winged King, and White-Winged King heard the noise and hurried over to check. Grandpa Mermaid Emperor, don't worry. Uncle is placing the crystal vein and soul vein. Lu Xiaofei followed and comforted them. Crystal vein. Soul vein. The Mermaid Emperor and the other two were stunned. These two things are very helpful for cultivation. You'll know in a while. Lu Xiaofei kept them in suspense. Sure enough, as Lu Xiaofei's voice fell, 10 crystal veins and soul veins suddenly appeared in front of Qin Feiyang. They were all 8th stage divine level. Immediately after, Qin Feiyang waved his hand again, and the crystal vein and soul vein were neatly arranged in the huge pit below. A torrential surge of energy also surged out. Boom! The cultivation of some nearby mermaids also began to break through uncontrollably. What's going on? My cultivation, all of them were shocked and bewildered. The Mermaid Emperor and the other two were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Lu Xiaofei chuckled and said, "This is the power of the soul vein and crystal vein. What kind of supreme treasure is this?" Hearing Lu Xiaofei's words, the Mermaid Emperor and the other two looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. After everything was done, Qin Feiyang brought the Mermaid Princess and landed beside the Mermaid Emperor. "Feiyang, thank you." The Mermaid Emperor was grateful. "Didn't you say that we are family? Why are you being so polite?" Qin Feiyang smiled. Yes, yes, yes. We are family, we are family." The Mermaid Emperor nodded repeatedly. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at the Mermaid Princess. "I'll go find Ling Yunfei and pick you up." "Okay." The Mermaid Princess nodded obediently. Qin Feiyang looked at the Mermaid Emperor and the other two and said with a smile, Uncles, I'll take my leave first." "Are you in such a hurry? Sit for a while more." The Mermaid Emperor said. "I haven't seen these brothers of mine for a few hundred years. I can't wait." Qin Feiyang said. "All right then." The Mermaid Emperor nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled and said loudly, "White-eyed wolf, let's go." Whoosh! At that moment, Qin Feiyang swept up the Lu siblings and flew towards the surface of the sea. Somewhere in the city. What was the white-eyed wolf doing? Hearing Qin Feiyang's voice, he also flew towards the surface of the sea. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back view, the Mermaid Emperor was filled with emotions. Thinking back to the first time he saw Qin Feiyang, how old was he? He was just a little kid. And now, he was already an existence that countless people respected. Even his various deeds had become legends. "What are you doing?" Suddenly, the Mermaid Emperor looked at the Black-Winged Monarch and asked. He saw the two of them standing there in a daze, not saying a word. Hearing the Mermaid Emperor's voice, the two were slightly stunned and asked, "Did you hear him call us uncle just now?" The Mermaid Emperor was stunned. "You are elders. Shouldn't he call you uncle?" No. After all, back then the two quickly waved their hands and said. The Mermaid Princess smiled and said, "Feiyang has already let go of what happened back then. You don't have to keep brooding over it." The two looked at each other, shook their heads and sighed. To Qin Feiyang, these might be small matters, but to them, these were memories that could never be erased. On the other side of the Sea of Despair was the border of the county of Yan, the Desert of Death. Above the desert, Qin Feiyang, the White-Eyed Wolf, and the Lu siblings walked slowly. "White-Eyed Wolf, do you still remember the scene when we crossed this desert back then?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Of course. At that time, it was someone called Commander who escorted us into the desert of death. The white-eyed wolf said. Commander Su. Qin Feiyang smiled. That's right. At that time, he was ordered to kill us. In the end, he was persuaded by us and turned back. I still remember that later on, we met a giant python. We fooled it and sent us to the Sea of Despair. The white-eyed wolf said. This giant python followed us and transformed into a dragon. Now, I don't know where it is fooling around with the Crocodile Emperor and the others. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Needless to say, they must be living a good life. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. Isn't it a relief for us if they are living well? Qin Feiyang smiled. Chapter 2785. That's true. The white-eyed wolf nodded. After all, they were partners who had gone through thick and thin together. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, also, this is where I got the elixir scripture back then. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. After thinking carefully for a moment, he nodded and said, yes, 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 Ling Yunfei was there too. Yes. At that time, we were here to help Ling Yunfei find out the truth behind his father's death. I didn't expect to find a valley and meet Mu Tianyang's divine bone. Qin Feiyang shook his head. I remember that valley was formed by Mu Tianyang's spatial divine item. The white-eyed wolf said. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Without realizing it, the three of them and the wolf had passed through the death desert. They saw many people in the desert. These people were all looking for treasures in the desert. Because there had always been rumors that there were many treasures in the death desert. Of course. There were indeed treasures. As for whether they could find them or not, it depended on their luck. And from the beginning to the end, no one found Qin Feiyang and the others. After all, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf were too fast. The people in the county of Yen were generally battle monarchs and below. Naturally, they couldn't catch them. Not long after. The three of them and the wolf arrived above a city. The city wasn't big. With Qin Feiyang's current cultivation, he could cross the entire city in one step. This city was Black Bear City. Back then, Qin Feiyang and Ling Yunfei met in Black Bear City. And Feng Ling Air and Feng Cheng. The Black Bear King and his son also met outside the city. Apart from these people, there were many others. But the others were just passers-by in Qin Feiyang's life. After looking for a while, Qin Feiyang walked in the direction of Iron Ox Town. Time passed bit by bit. Finally, a lake came into sight. The lake was not big, and it was surrounded by green weeping willows. The lake water was also very clear and sparkling. Beside the lake, there was a courtyard. The courtyard was not big and looked very simple. In front of the courtyard, there was a small path paved with cobblestones that surrounded the entire lake. This was a place with a beautiful environment, fresh air, and tranquil health. And this was Qin Feiyang and Uncle Yuan's former residence. Qin Feiyang looked around the lake in amazement. Hundreds of years had passed, yet this place was still in such good condition. No. This place is better than before. Just like that secluded path, it was not so exquisite in the past. The small courtyard was also very clean. There was not even a single blade of grass. In the middle of the lake, there was a stone platform. On the stone platform, there was a statue. This was also a statue of Qin Feiyang. What's the situation? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Could it be that there were still people living here? Daddy, did you catch it? Come out quickly. Suddenly, an anxious voice could be heard from the other side of the lake. This was the voice of a little girl, which sounded very immature. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Following the voice, he saw a 5- or 6-year-old girl squatting under a weeping willow. The girl was wearing a small flower dress, with 2 ponytails and a small bell around her neck. She looked very cute. There is indeed someone living here. Qin Feiyang murmured. But why did this little girl look a little familiar? Familiar? How could she be familiar? He had not come back for hundreds of years. It was impossible to see this little girl. But Qin Feiyang felt that she was a little familiar. Could she be? Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia looked at each other with a trace of surprise in their eyes. You know her? Qin Feiyang asked. I'm not sure. Lu Xiaofei shook his head, then looked around and murmured, but I think she is the only one who will stay here. Who? Qin Feiyang said. Sister Yan, her. Lu Xiaofei said. Sister Yan, her. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Lu Xiaofei said, she is Uncle Ling Yunfei's daughter. What? She is little Ling's daughter. White-eyed Wolf was stunned. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xiaofei suspiciously and said, since she is Ling Yunfei's daughter, how can you not know her? The last time I saw her was when she was 2 years old. Now she is 5 or 6 years old. Her appearance has changed a lot. It must be difficult to recognize her. Lu Xiaofei said. Qin Feiyang asked, in that case, this place is also cleaned by Ling Yunfei. Uncle Ling is a man. How can he be so meticulous? Everything here was cleaned by my aunt. Last time I heard from aunt that she would come here to clean every once in a while. The reason is that this is your home and you will come back sooner or later. And usually, their family also treats this place as a vacation place. They will stay here for a while when they have nothing to do. Lu Xiaofei said. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding. Zhao Shuang, this little girl, was really considerate. This is a little niece. Let's go and have a look. White-eyed Wolf chuckled and flew to the opposite side. Qin Feiyang smiled and walked over with Lu Xiaofei and his sister. White-eyed Wolf said, little girl, what are you doing? The little girl was startled by the sudden voice. She quickly looked up at White-eyed Wolf and Qin Feiyang. Wolf! The little girl suddenly stood up. Her little face was full of panic. White-eyed Wolf showed a smile that he thought was very kind and said, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. I am not a bad wolf that eats people. But he did not know that his smile, which he thought was very kind, was fierce in the eyes of the little girl. Daddy, there is a wolf, she shouted and stepped back. Get out of the way. Qin Feiyang pushed White-eyed Wolf away, landed in front of the little girl, and said with a smile, don't be afraid, we are really not bad people. The little girl was still panicking. But suddenly, she stared at Qin Feiyang's face and then looked at the statue in the middle of the lake. Why did this uncle in front of her look so similar to the statue? Qin Feiyang said with a smile, you should know who I am. You are Uncle Qin. The little girl blinked her big eyes and asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and walked up with a smile. Don't come over. My daddy said that Uncle Qin went outside. You are definitely not him. How dare you pretend to be Uncle Qin? Just you wait. When Daddy comes out, he will beat you up. Daddy, come out quickly. There are bad people. The little girl hurriedly shouted. Ah! Qin Feiyang was stunned. White-eyed Wolf walked to Qin Feiyang's side and muttered, this little girl is quite cautious. This shows that Ling Yunfei and Zhao Shuang taught her well. Children should be like this, lest they encounter real bad people and suffer a big loss. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying divine power erupted from the bottom of the lake. Who bullied my daughter? Following closely. Accompanied by a roar, a young man with his upper body exposed rushed out of the lake, holding a 2-meter-long fish in his hand. The big fish was still struggling desperately. As soon as this person appeared, he looked at White-Eyed Wolf and Qin Feiyang with a cold light flashing in his eyes. "Daddy, it's them." The little girl pointed at Qin Feiyang and the others. "Not only did you break into my house, but you also bullied my daughter. You are fucking courting death." Ling Yunfei let out a loud roar as his surging divine might pounced towards Qin Feiyang and the others. "Little Ling, I haven't seen you for a few hundred years. Your temper is getting worse." White-Eyed Wolf smiled and slowly turned around to look at Ling Yunfei. This voice, Ling Yunfei was stunned. When White-Eyed Wolf completely turned around, Ling Yunfei's expression suddenly froze. "Wolf pup. Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" White-Eyed Wolf grinned. "Damn it. What's going on? Why is White-Eyed Wolf here?" Ling Yunfei was confused. At this time, Qin Feiyang and Lu Xiaofei also turned to look at Ling Yunfei. Looking at the three of them, especially Qin Feiyang, Ling Yunfei was completely stunned. "Uncle Ling, you didn't even recognize me. I'm so sad." Lu Xiaofei shook his head and sighed. "Xiaofei, Xiaojia." Ling Yunfei looked at Lu Xiaofei, Lu Xiaojia, and finally looked at Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf. "Your sister, you're not dreaming, right?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Is this your reaction when you meet an old friend?" Ling Yunfei's body trembled. "Isn't this the voice of that bastard?" White-Eyed Wolf said helplessly, "I say, how long are you going to be stunned?" Ling Yunfei glanced at White-Eyed Wolf and then looked at Qin Feiyang and Lu Xiaofei as if to confirm. Hey, I'm talking to you. Can you give me some reaction?" White-Eyed Wolf was speechless. Ling Yunfei quivered and hurriedly said, "Wait a minute." After that, he threw the big fish in his hand and took out his Cosmos bag. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at him suspiciously. After a while, Ling Yunfei took out a Heaven's Eye stone from his Cosmos bag and looked at them, saying, "Let's verify your identities first." Ah! Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. Lu Xiaofei said discontentedly, "Uncle Ling, you're too much. Cut the crap, hurry up." Ling Yunfei shouted. Okay. Lu Xiaofei nodded and held the Heaven's Eye stone in his hand. Ling Yunfei stared at the Heaven's Eye stone. After a while, there was no reaction from the Heaven's Eye stone. Lu Xiaofei handed the Heaven's Eye stone to Lu Xiaojia. "It's really troublesome." White-Eyed Wolf shook his head and a terrifying aura burst out. Immediately after, the golden beast shadow of the fighting soul roared out. Ling Yunfei suddenly raised his head and looked at the golden beast shadow in a daze. That's right. This was the fighting soul of the wolf cub. Damn, when did you guys come back? When he came back to his senses, Ling Yunfei was immediately overjoyed and ran to Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf and asked. "You don't doubt it now?" White-Eyed Wolf pursed his lips and kept his fighting soul. Ling Yunfei hugged White-Eyed Wolf's neck and laughed, "Brother Wolf, who can impersonate your fighting soul?" "Of course." White-Eyed Wolf smiled proudly and said helplessly, "But you kid, you're too cautious. Isn't this too sudden?" "Of course, I have to confirm it." Ling Yunfei laughed. Hee. White-Eyed Wolf also grinned and put his arm around Ling Yunfei's shoulder, saying, "How have you been these years? Do you miss your brother?" "Of course." Ling Yunfei nodded, his face full of smiles. Chapter 2786. At least you have a little conscience. The White-Eyed Wolf said. Ling Yunfei said, "Just kidding, after all, we are brothers who have gone through fire and water, right?" "Yes. Good brother." The White-Eyed Wolf nodded. When Ling Yunfei heard the words "good brother," his eyes couldn't help but turn red. But after all, he was a man and could control his inner emotions. He let go of the White-Eyed Wolf and looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang also looked at Ling Yunfei. Suddenly, the two of them smiled at the same time with tacit understanding, opened their arms, and gave a big bear hug. Ling Yunfei said, "Welcome back." "Thank you." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Although it was only a simple sentence, they could feel the other party's joy and sincerity. Between brothers, there was no need to say anything more. The little girl next to them looked at the two of them and asked, "Daddy, is he really Uncle Qin?" Ling Yunfei walked in front of the little girl and carried her up. He smiled and said, "Let me introduce you. This is Qin Feiyang, Uncle Qin, whom Daddy often talks about." "Uncle Qin, hello." The little girl was very obedient, very sensible, and very likable. Ling Yunfei looked at Qin Feiyang again and said, "She is my daughter, 5.5 years old this year. What do you think? She looks like her mother." "Yes. I was wondering why this little girl looked so familiar. It turns out that it is because of Shuang Er." Qin Feiyang suddenly patted his head. This little girl really looked like Zhao Shuang Er. "Little girl, hello." Qin Feiyang's face was full of smiles as he gently pinched the little girl's cheek. The little girl said, "Uncle Qin, you are more handsome than the statue." "Is that so?" "I think so too." Qin Feiyang looked at the statue in the middle of the lake and laughed. "I haven't seen you for hundreds of years, how did you become narcissistic? You weren't like this before. Besides, no matter how handsome you are, can you compare to me?" Ling Yunfei spoke in disdain. After that, he glanced at the little girl and smiled, "Yan tell me, who is more handsome? Daddy or Uncle Qin?" Qin Feiyang also looked at the little girl and said, "Children shouldn't lie. You have to tell the truth." The little girl looked at Ling Yunfei and then looked at Qin Feiyang. She rolled her black eyes and giggled. "Daddy and Uncle Qin are both handsome." "Huh!" Qin Feiyang and Qin Haodong immediately burst into laughter. "What a mischievous little girl." The white-eyed wolf asked, "Little Ling, what's my niece's name?" "Ling Xiaoyan." Ling Yunfei said. The white-eyed wolf stood up and looked at Ling Xiaoyan. He chuckled and said, "Yan, come, call me Uncle Wolf. Uncle Wolf will give you candy. Mommy said that children shouldn't eat candy. Otherwise, their teeth will rot." Tiny Tot shook her head. "Ah." The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. "However, Mommy also said that children should be polite. Although you look a little fierce, you are Daddy and Uncle Qin's friend, so I should call you Uncle Qin." "Hello, Uncle Wolf." Tiny Tot greeted him affectionately. What a lovely girl. The way she called him Uncle Wolf melted the white-eyed wolf's heart. In particular, her innocent and romantic smile seemed to have the ability to heal the soul. The white-eyed wolf stretched out his paw and said, "Little Qin Zi, give me the soul-calming divine pearl." Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Give it to me." The white-eyed wolf urged. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He understood what the white-eyed wolf meant. He took out the soul-calming divine pearl, erased the blood contract, and handed it to the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf said with a smile, "Yan, come here. This is Uncle Wolf's gift to you." Tiny Tot looked at Ling Yunfei hesitantly. Ling Yunfei said with a smile, "It's a gift from Uncle Wolf. It'll be a waste if you don't take it." He. Tiny Tot smiled, took the soul-calming divine pearl, and said, "Thank you, Uncle Wolf." "You're welcome." The white-eyed wolf was also beaming with joy. "Uncle Wolf, this is unfair. My sister and I took the initiative to ask you for a gift before you gave it to us." Lu Xiaofei pursed his lips. "Is it funny? You're jealous of a child. Besides, Yan, is also your sister." The white-eyed wolf said angrily. He. Lu Xiaofei laughed dryly and walked in front of Tiny Tot. He rubbed Tiny Tot's head and said with a smile, Yen, do you still remember me? You are. Tiny Tot looked at him suspiciously. I'm your big brother Xiaofei. And Lu Xiaofei pulled Lu Xiaojia over and said, she's your big sister Xiaojia. When you were born, we even came to see you. Big brother, big sister, hello. Tiny Tot called out sensibly again. In fact, she had no impression at all, because the last time Lu Xiaofei and his sister came to see her was when she was 2 years old. A 2-year-old child had no memory at all. Good girl. Lu Xiaofei smiled slightly, looked at Ling Yunfei, and asked, where's Auntie? Your auntie and the others went to buy groceries. Ling Yunfei said with a smile. Lu Xiaofei laughed and said, could it be that Auntie knew that we would come, so she started preparing in advance? In your dreams. We plan to stay here for a while. Ling Yunfei rolled his eyes at him. It turns out that I was thinking too much. Lu Xiaofei shook his head in disappointment. Brat. Ling Yunfei knocked his head, looked at Lu Xiaojia, and said with a smile, I haven't seen you for a few years, Xiaojia has grown so tall. Lu Xiaojia giggled and said, little sister Yen, is also so big. Yeah. Time passes so quickly. Ling Yunfei sighed, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, what about you? Did you and the mermaid princess have a good relationship? Can you guys stop talking about this? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Ling Yunfei snorted and said, aren't we concerned about you? You don't know what's good for you. I thank you for your concern. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly. All right. Let's not stand here. Let's go sit in the courtyard over there. Ling Yunfei smiled, carried Tiny Tot, and walked along the path to the opposite side. Little Ling, you guys have taken good care of this place. White-Eyed Wolf said. It has nothing to do with me. I don't have the time to do this. It's Shuang, her. She comes here to clean every few days. She really has nothing to do. Ling Yunfei pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other and could not help but shake their heads and laugh. He had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. This guy was the perfect example. Very soon. A group of people came to the courtyard. Ling Yunfei pushed open the door of the courtyard. There were many flowers planted in the courtyard, and the fragrance assailed their nostrils. There was a stone table next to it. It was simple, but when they walked into the courtyard, they felt very at ease. Do whatever you want. Don't stand on ceremony. Ling Yunfei put down the little girl and greeted. But just as he finished speaking, the little girl raised her head and looked at Ling Yunfei, correcting, Daddy, are you mistaken? This is Uncle Qin's home. If you want to say don't be polite, it should be Uncle Qin who says that to us, because we are the guests. Ah. Ling Yunfei was stunned. Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Xiaofei and his sister were also stunned little girls. Haha, Ling Yunfei smiled awkwardly and said, look at my memory. After living here for so long, I thought it was my own home. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed, looking at the little girl and said, Yen, this is not only Uncle Qin's home, but also your home, do you know? Yes. Mother said the same thing. The little girl nodded. Then go and play. Qin Feiyang rubbed the little girl's head, his face full of love. Okay. The little girl nodded, holding the soul-calming divine pearl, ran to the side, and played with it curiously. Ling Yunfei sat at the stone table and asked, wine or tea? Tea. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. You, after so many years, you still have a soft spot for tea. Ling Yunfei shook his head, took out a tea set, and began to make tea. How does it feel to have such a cute daughter? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Cute. Ling Yunfei was stunned and shook his head, it's so annoying. Although he said that, his eyes were full of love when he glanced at the little girl. If it's so annoying, then give it to us. Little sister Yen is so obedient. Mother and father will definitely spoil her. Lu Xiaofei teased. Ling Yunfei immediately glared at Lu Xiaofei and said, "Boy, are you itching for a beating? If you want a sister, go and ask your father and mother to have another one. Isn't there a ready-made one? Why bother?" Lu Xiaofei said with a smile. Ling Yunfei's face darkened. He raised his arm and made a punching gesture. "Do you believe that I won't beat you up?" "Hee hee." Lu Xiaofei laughed. Ling Yunfei shook his head, poured tea, and looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "I really didn't want to have a child before. I felt that having a child was troublesome, but since this little girl was born, I think it's quite interesting. Then continue to work hard. I heard from Aunt Shui in the Butterfly Valley this morning that Aunt Lu Ji wants you to have another fat boy." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Don't. Ling Yunfei hurriedly waved his hand and said, "One is enough. If another one comes, I will be worried to death." "What are you worried about?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "You're a bachelor. You don't understand the hardships of raising a child at all. It's useless to tell you." Ling Yunfei shook his head in disdain. "You just got married and had a child before me. Look at you being so arrogant." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. "So? Not convinced? Then hurry up and have one for me to see." Ling Yunfei looked at Qin Feiyang provocatively. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. He could only be convinced. Ling Yunfei frowned and said, "Speaking of which, only the two of you came back. Where are the others?" "They are all in the Black Tortoise world." Qin Feiyang did not hide it. After all, they were all young people, so he could understand. Ling Yunfei was stunned, shook his head and said with a smile, "All right, now that I know why they are hiding in the Black Tortoise world, I won't force them. When do you plan to leave?" "I'm not sure yet." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Ling Yunfei picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said with a sly smile, "Then I wish you a peaceful death." "A peaceful death?" Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf heard this, and their faces instantly darkened. Wasn't this a blessing for the dead? Bastard! The man and the wolf glared at Ling Yunfei fiercely. He was already a father, but he was still so unruly. A leopard cannot change its spots. This saying was indeed true. Chapter 2787. Ling Yunfei smiled and asked, "How have you been these years?" "What do you think?" Qin Feiyang asked. "The ancient world," Ling Yunfei murmured and shook his head. "How can I have a good life in such a place?" "Yes. I've been on tenterhooks every day. I also want to end it as soon as possible." Qin Feiyang sighed. He didn't hide anything from Ling Yunfei. Just like Lu Zheng and Lu Hong, they were all young people who had experienced many life and death disasters. Their mental endurance was stronger than the older generation. Of course. It wasn't that the older generation hadn't seen much of the world. It was because the older generation cared too much about them. There was a good saying, caring makes you confused. End it as soon as possible. Then you should work hard. After all, you are different from us. You were born with a different fate. Ling Yunfei said with a smile. Why is my fate different from others? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Aren't you talking nonsense? The castle and Chang Shui were born together. How can it be the same as us? Ling Yunfei rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He couldn't refute. Mom, Grandma, suddenly. The little girl's voice sounded. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He hurriedly turned his head and saw the little girl looking at the entrance. Her little face was full of joy. Qin Feiyang also looked and saw two women coming this way. One of them was about 20 years old. She was wearing a white dress. Her black hair was like a waterfall. She looked elegant and refined. That's right. She was Zhao Shuang'er. The other woman was about 37 or 38 years old. She was also dressed very simply. And she was Ling Yunfei's mother, Lu Ji. After the catastrophe, her son got married and had children. She was in a good mood. Compared with her previous haggard appearance, she was glowing. "Mom, Grandma." The little girl skipped and ran over to her. "Yen, her." Both mother and daughter-in-law were holding two large bags filled with daily necessities. Seeing the little girl run over, Zhao Shuang'er put down the bag in her hand and picked up the little girl. She smiled and said, "Did you listen to your father?" "Yes." The little girl nodded. "Yen, is the best." Lu Ji also had a doting look on her face. "Hee hee." The little girl smiled. Zhao Shuang'er suddenly noticed the soul-setting divine pearl in the little girl's hand and asked suspiciously, "Yenner, what is this pearl in your hand?" "I think it's called soul-calming divine pearl. It's a gift from Uncle Qin and Uncle Lang." The little girl said. Soul-anchoring divine pearl. Zhao Shuang'er was stunned. Just by hearing the name, she felt that it was extraordinary. "Wait." Suddenly, Zhao Shuang'er frowned and asked, "What Uncle Qin? What wolf uncle?" The little girl pointed to the courtyard by the lake and said, "It's Uncle Qin and Uncle Wolf sitting in the courtyard." Hearing that, Zhao Shuang'er raised her head and looked over suspiciously. She saw a familiar face looking at her at that moment. Qin Feiyang. At that moment, Zhao Shuang'er's body stiffened. "What's wrong?" Lu Ji looked at Zhao Shuang'er doubtfully and also looked toward the courtyard. Her expression suddenly froze. "Wasn't this, that kid?" Ling Yunfei said, "What are you doing there? Come here quickly." The mother and daughter-in-law came back to their senses, hurriedly grabbed the bag, carried the little girl, and walked toward the courtyard. In their hearts, they were nervous and expectant. Qin Feiyang's appearance was too sudden, causing them to wonder if they were hallucinating. At the same time, they were also hoping that it was not an illusion. "Feiyang, is it really you?" Walking into the courtyard, the mother and daughter-in-law put down the little girl and the bag, then ran to Qin Feiyang and looked up and down at Qin Feiyang. "Auntie, it's me." Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Ji and nodded, then looked at Zhao Shuang'er and said with a smile, "It's only been a few hundred years. Even I can't recognize you." "No, you came back too suddenly this time. There was no news at all," Zhao Shuang'er said. "Otherwise, how can it be called a surprise?" The white-eyed wolf next to her grinned. Zhao Shuang'er looked at the white-eyed wolf. Looking at that familiar smirk and those familiar eyes, a smile gradually crept onto her face. She was finally sure that this was not a dream. Zhao Shuang'er looked at the man and the wolf and said with a smile, "Welcome back." "Thank you." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. "Child, have you been well these years outside?" Lu Ji stepped forward and grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand. Like a mother, her face was full of love. "Look at my strong appearance, you can tell that I must have been well." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "Do you think Auntie doesn't know you? Since childhood, you have been more sensible than your peers. No matter what pressure you encounter, you bear it by yourself. You never tell us because you don't want us to worry." Lu Ji said. "Ha," Qin Feiyang laughed dryly. "Fine. If you don't want to say, Auntie won't force you. However, no matter what happened outside, now that you are home, all the troubles can be put down first." Lu Ji said. "Thank you for your concern, Auntie." Qin Feiyang was touched. "Silly child, there is no need to thank me. Well, you young people talk first. I will make some white fungus soup for you to try. Lu Ji looked at Qin Feiyang and said. Thank you, Auntie. Qin Feiyang smiled. You are just being polite. Lu Ji helplessly glared at Qin Feiyang, and then took 4 big bags into the backyard. How is it? This old mother is good to you, right? Ling Yunfei said. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Whether it was Luo Qianxue or Lu Ji, they all treated him as their own child. This was a treatment that others did not have. So in this world, no one was happier than him. Seeing that Lu Ji and Zhao Shuang'er ignored him from beginning to end, Lu Xiaofei shook his head and sighed. Sister, we seem to be ignored again. You are so talkative. Lu Xiaojia rolled her eyes at him. Zhao Shuang'er looked at the brother and sister and said, Who dares to ignore you? Aren't we happy? We don't have time to care about you. Okay. You adults talk slowly. I will help Grandma Lu Ji. Grandma Lu Ji's white fungus soup is the best in the world. Lu Xiaofei smiled, got up and ran to the backyard. I will go too. Wait for me. Lu Xiaojia hurriedly shouted. These 2 little ones, Zhao Shuang'er shook her head and smiled. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, They must have been following you all the time. That's right. I can't drive them away. Qin Feiyang smiled. This is normal. They have admired you since they were young. Especially Xiaofei, this child has always regarded you as his idol and goal. Zhao Shuang'er said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Then he has to work harder. Zhao Shuang'er was stunned. She looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and asked curiously, What cultivation have you reached now? She couldn't see through the strength of these 2 guys at all. I said you don't know. The white-eyed wolf said proudly. If you don't tell me, how will I know? Zhao Shuang'er was speechless. The white-eyed wolf asked, Have you heard of the 9th heaven realm? The 9th heaven realm? Zhao Shuang'er was stunned and shook her head. No. That's right. Anyway, with the strength of little Qin Zi and I now, we can kill any of you in seconds. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Even Uncle Yuan and the snow python can be killed in seconds. Zhao Shuang'er asked. Of course. They are just half-step divine lords. Compared with us, the gap is like heaven and earth. The white-eyed wolf said. It can't be. Zhao Shuang'er was shocked. In her opinion, half-step divine lords were already very powerful, but she didn't expect that Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf's current cultivation were even stronger than half-step divine lords. Jealous. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Zhao Shuang'er couldn't help laughing and said, What's there to be jealous of? No matter how strong they are, can they live a peaceful and stable life like us? Ah. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and pursed his lips. We don't have any pursuits. It's not that we don't have pursuits, it's just that what we pursue is different. You can ask Qin Feiyang. Doesn't he yearn for the life we have now? Unfortunately, this kind of life is still far away from him. Zhao Shuang'er smiled. Yes. It's still far away. Qin Feiyang nodded. Frankly speaking. Although he was very strong, he was really envious of everyone's current life. Life should be like this. But to him, it was simply an extravagant hope. So this time, when he came back, he had to cherish this rare time. Where are the others? Zhao Shuang'er asked. Qin Feiyang laughed, In the Black Tortoise realm, they don't plan to come out. All right. Then let's not disturb them. Zhao Shuang'er smiled slightly, apparently understanding everyone's feelings. Then. She looked at the soul-calming pearl in the little girl's hand and said suspiciously, This should be a divine artifact. Qin Feiyang nodded. You guys are spoiling her too much. Why would a child give her a divine artifact? Zhao Shuang'er said unhappily. It's fine. This divine artifact doesn't have any killing power. Its only function is to protect the divine soul. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Protect the divine soul. Zhao Shuang'er was stunned. That's right. The soul calming pearl is a supreme-level divine artifact. Although Yen has not reached the war god level and her soul has not evolved into a divine soul, it can still protect her soul. With the soul calming pearl protecting Yen, her soul, even the white-eyed wolf and I can't hurt her. Qin Feiyang laughed. Supreme-level divine artifact, Zhao Shuang'er muttered. What level of divine artifact was this? In short, this soul calming pearl is very precious. Even in the ancient world, it's rare. Qin Feiyang said. Since it's so precious, then keep it for yourself to save your life in the future. Yen, quickly return it to Uncle Qin. Zhao Shuang'er said. The little girl was slightly stunned. She raised her head and looked at Zhao Shuang'er, saying, But mother, I really like it. You can't do this, Zhao Shuang'er reprimanded. It's really fine. I basically don't need it now, so let her play with it. We'll talk about it later. This is also a token of appreciation from the white-eyed wolf and I for this little niece. Qin Feiyang laughed. Then, all right. Zhao Shuang'er hesitated for a while, nodded with a smile, then looked down at the little girl and said, Yen, quickly thank Uncle Qin and Uncle Wolf. Thank you, Uncle Qin. Thank you, Uncle Wolf. The little girl looked at the two and smiled sweetly. Good girl. Qin Feiyang laughed and couldn't help but pinch her little face.